So we are going to start, if it's okay with you, the episode off with a quick prayer.
Got
Good?
it. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Father God, we appreciate everything you're doing for us. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the hearts and minds of the 12 people that are going to watch this. We hope that we speak with the wisdom of Solomon today, and that we are able to help anybody that hears what we're about to say. Thank you for Leigh, for her coming in on her very busy schedule to come in and hang out and chat with us a little bit. We just praise you. We thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Cool. All right. So, hi.
Hi. Long time no see.
Yeah, right. Hello to everybody as well. We are in season. So I think I said season 2 on the Facebook, but it's actually season 3 because technically last September I did season 2 because we took a big break as well. So anyway, welcome to season 3, episode 1 of the Permanent Mark podcast. I am joined today by Leigh Smith, no relation,
None.
which is
Shocking.
I mean, there's a lot of Smiths. You know, there's a lot of us out there.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that maybe like we're tri-distant cousins or something like that. It's
Could be.
You're from the Northeast, so my father was from the Northeast, so it's possible.
Maybe.
But yeah, we just you could have been a Smythe. We never know. Unless you do Ancestry, which I think is creepy.
I did the 23andMe.
And how'd that go?
Found out grandfather was messing around and had a secret uncle. Those 23andMe things will get you.
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, I don't think I would do that. A secret uncle.
My grandfather had an affair and fathered a kid that nobody knew about. But he's come into the family. I've not met him.
Okay.
Seems like a nice guy.
Okay. All right. Okay. So secret uncle.
Secret uncle.
I think there's probably a lot more of that than anybody would suspect.
I don't think people knew that they were going to get caught back then. Nobody could have
No way.
known
There's
that
no way.
DNA
Yeah.
was going to take off.
You see that all the time, where like people were accused of or were accused of something and never ever got caught.
Right.
But then like the DNA comes out and they're arresting an 85-year-old
decades
grandfather.
later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, we know you murdered those 14 women because we found evidence.
Yeah.
Of it on them.
There was a guy, I just read an article, I think it was yesterday or today, I saw it online about, he's 70 something years old now, and he got caught with DNA in his trash can off of soda cans for murders in the 70s or 80s.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he killed like 20 women or something like
Crazy.
that. Right? Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that. I think maybe something we'll talk about today is technology and how it's like overwhelming us at this point.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts.
It's a necessary evil. Can't live with it, can't live without it.
I don't know about that. I think I would turn back the clocks. And
Would you?
I think I would. So we can go down that.
Yeah, we'll go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. So let's give everybody a backstory. How about that? So Leigh and I used to network together back in the day when I worked for a different company, when I didn't own my own business, which was, how many was it? Been at least a year and a half.
Yeah, maybe 2 years.
Yeah. So we were in a networking group, which we'll not name because I'm not a fan, but we'll leave it at that. And Leigh has her own Audiologist group. So you look at people's eardrums, basically.
Yeah, fit hearing
right.
aids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but you look at their ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
The one question I have is how nasty are the old people's earwax?
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
I get so satisfied when I do an ear cleaning.
You're like,
anybody who enjoys those Dr. Pimple Popper videos, you
Yeah.
either love them or hate them.
I love
If
them.
I get like a really nasty ear and I clean it out, there's something so satisfying.
you should totally YouTube that.
Oh, I
should,
know.
like,
I
record it
should.
and,
I should record it and do it. But if I get a really nasty ear and I am able to pull a bunch of wax out, so satisfying. So satisfying.
How about especially if they don't know it was there? They're like, I can't hear
Yeah,
anything.
we see that a lot. But it
Impacted
actually,
wax? Blech.
I get impacted wax, but people don't realize you have to have more than an 85% impaction in order for it to affect your hearing. So a lot of times people come in and they're like, I think I just have wax in my ears, and I'll look and I'm like, no, there's no way. If you have like a small window where I can view the eardrum, it doesn't matter how much wax is in there. There's a test that we can do that tells me how much movement is behind the eardrum, and if I get any movement, it's not impacting the hearing at all. So we'll still take the wax out, obviously for health reasons, but it doesn't really impact your hearing.
Time out. You're telling me if you have an ear full of wax, like packed in there, like I know you've seen the videos.
Yeah.
And they're like scraping, and they use a little honeycomb shaped thing, and they're like
pull it out, little Earwax.
It's not really impacting their ability to hear.
No.
Okay, I'm shocked.
You have to have, as long as there's a little bit back there, because you have to think, you just need enough room for that sound wave to hit the eardrum. You don't have to have a full...
It's too much science for me. I'm not a simple guy.
But I could do a hearing test on an ear full of wax, and I can tell, based on the hearing test, it'll show me how much of it is related to wax and how much of it is just permanent underlying hearing loss. And it's very rare that a wax impaction will actually do too much to your hearing. So if you can't hear... usually unlikely related to wax. Not always, but most of the time, no.
How much of that selective hearing thing do you get?
Oh, I always tell people I'm great at fixing hearing. We can't fix basic biology. Man ears is a real thing. Yeah.
We just tune out, right?
Tune it out. Yeah. There's a mute button on all of the apps for the hearing aids, and I always just say if you call it the wife switch, we'll take it away. You know?
Yeah. I think it's fascinating that like, I have is it tinnitus?
Yeah.
It's where my ears consistently ring.
Did I check your hearing?
Never. No. I know. I need
you should
to
come in. Yeah.
It's like a matter of coming
if you
out
have tinnitus, typically you have hearing loss. 90% of people who
100% have hearing loss.
Yeah.
So I have like I don't know if it's ADHD, which I don't even know that I actually have. But if there's competing sounds in a room lately in the last probably I'll be 43 in a few weeks, well a few months. And probably the last 2 years, it's gotten really bad. Like if we're like, even if we're at church and I'm talking to my wife and my friend sitting next to her and he's trying to talk to me, if there's even a little bit of sound in that room, I can't hear more than like 5 to 6 feet away from me.
It's probably a combination of a few things. Like if your ears are ringing, you probably have some hearing loss somewhere. But also, if you have ADD or ADHD, there's something called auditory processing disorder, and that can happen in people with normal hearing, but there's a huge comorbidity related to people that just cannot process well in relation to people that have ADHD. But we can do a hearing test.
Yeah, we should totally do that.
We should do a hearing test. And actually, if you did have hearing loss, there's a program that we work with called vocational rehab. They pay for a minimum of 20% up to 100%. I would say the majority of people we run through that program get free hearing aids through the state, and they don't have to pay anything.
What's the nonsense about the AirPods being as good as hearing aids? What is that? Did you see that article?
The AirPods actually do work really well as an OTC. Yeah, it's the best OTC thing on the market.
Really?
Yeah. So FDA regulation, it's mild. They're approved for mild to moderate hearing loss. The thing is, people with mild hearing loss, for the most part, don't know that they have hearing loss. So by the time they come in my office, it's usually past the point that an OTC product might work for them. And then you get into some of the other issues surrounding the OTC products, or AirPods in particular. Like if you are walking around and you have AirPods in and you talk to someone and you don't take them out, that's typically perceived as rude, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes more of a social, cultural issue. But as far as how well they work, it's a very surprisingly affordable option for most people. It's better, like, for example, Bose makes a product called Lexi. Not good patient response to them at all. Patients have come in and they're well outside of that range where they should have been fit with them, and they're still paying, over $1,000 for them. I think most of the time you can get AirPods for $250 and they work much better than the Bose products.
Yeah, so like you said, it's like rude, but unless you're Gen Alpha, is that what's out now? These 18, 19-year-old kids? My son is 17, so 98% of the time he's got one AirPod in at all times. I'm like, why? He's like, just do it.
It's that, and it's the battery life. So you only have 6 hours of battery life. So if you really were dependent on them for hearing and you had to put them in to charge them, then you have that downtime. Prescription hearing aids, more cosmetically appealing, and they're going to last much longer. But like if somebody truly couldn't afford hearing aids, it's actually not a bad product.
I don't know why. A couple of weeks ago we were out with some friends, and one of my son's really good friends, his father was out with us, and we're at dinner. Lunch? It was dinner. It doesn't matter. That's not really important. What am I going? Anyway, it was dinner, and we were in a louder restaurant, and I'm trying to hear all the boys and stuff like that. I look over, and he answers his phone, and he starts talking, and I'm like,
through his hearing aids.
I don't know why I was so amazed. I'm like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, I don't have to even pick up my phone. It tells me who's calling me in my head. And I'm like, I don't know why I thought that was so darn cool. I was like, I cannot believe it. And you can't even see his hearing aids. They're like,
No.
they're so minute that you barely
No.
even tell. It's not like a,
It's a blessing and a curse, actually.
I don't know.
Because I think there's so much stigma around hearing loss still, but you don't stigmatize people that wear glasses.
Right.
So if you could see how many people wore hearing aids, I really think we could combat a lot of that stigma.
You think that's a major problem then?
Yeah, but my response when people come in is I always say it is more noticeable to walk around saying huh and what all the time than it is to wear a hearing aid. People already know you can't hear when you act like that. You look more like the old guy who can't participate in a conversation than if you wore a hearing aid. We can get you a horn.
I do like, I love that horn. Yeah. Well, that's like the technology thing that I want to talk about too. Is like, I don't know. There are things about, this is, I guess, sidebar to the same conversation. I am in a lot of ways in better shape than I was even 5 or 6 years ago. But I have arthritis, and if you guys don't know, part of the emphasis of doing this show originally was to talk about like trauma and stuff that happens to you, and like processing the death of my child, and like motorcycle accidents, and all the garbage that I've had blessings to talk about in previous shows, and we'll probably go over it again today. But physically I'm probably in the best shape I've ever been, but man, it's the mileage is starting to catch up to me. The arthritis and like I got up yesterday and I'm like, I can't stand up. My knee was like swollen, and I'm like, I know it's from the accidents and all that stuff, but it's crazy. Like, and now the hearing thing is so new. Now I knew that we went to, in my 20s, I'm in concerts like all the time, front row for Newfound Glory many times, just like all kinds of, you name that kind of band that was touring in the 2000s, we were there, right?
Great era for music, by
fantastic.
the way.
Yeah, Yellow Card, Newfound Glory, My Chemical Romance,
amazing,
Evanescence. I mean, you could just name
and you were
Park,
there, you were at that show.
Linkin Park. We didn't.
Yeah.
I never went to the Evanescence concerts.
You seemed like, so you would have thrived Warped Tour.
Yeah. It's funny because we never, I was always either working or like didn't have the money to go.
Yeah.
But I always saw the bands that were on the Warped Tour. So we've seen Newfound Glory many times in Orlando. And I mean, there's tons of concerts, just even little shows that you would go to, the bands that I probably couldn't even name now, but like that were big bands at the time, being stuck in little hall like the Florida Room or whatever, just tiny little places. I know 100% that's what did it. Even like we've seen Sister Hazel like 38 times.
Oh, great.
It's been a lot, probably at least 40, and almost always front row, almost always up against the speakers. Like,
it's bad.
We saw them in Gainesville once, and it was like we were right up against. So like that kind of stuff I know ruined it. Plus,
cool experiences.
Yeah. Oh, it's worth it. That's what people always say.
Yeah.
My buddy Mark, who is sometimes now co-host of the show, he says, what? Can't you hear? I said, dude, it's the mileage. It's everything else.
It's the mileage.
Well, and I cracked my head pretty good in the motorcycle accident too. I don't know that necessarily has anything to do with it, but I mean,
for sure, depending on where your skull fracture was.
Well, no fracture, just hit it real hard.
Still, yeah.
Thick skull. Yeah, hit it real hard enough to crack the helmet, and didn't break my
well, thank God you had a helmet on.
I know, right? Yeah. Right. So, which is the minimal of all the PPE you had on. Like, I didn't even have gloves on. I had I didn't have gloves. I had a sweatshirt on and a pair of Dickie jeans.
You still ride?
God, no way.
Scared you?
I don't know. See, I wouldn't say that. I'm not afraid of doing it. I'm not afraid of riding. I'm afraid of the people.
I'm scared of motorcycle. I mean, I work next to the hospital. We just hear the trauma helicopters all day.
Yeah. Oh, and now, especially here in Pasco, it's not. My accident was 20-some odd years ago now. So 2000. It's 20 years. This year, November, will be 20 years.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that live here now is probably quadruple what it was then.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, no. The answer is no. One of my son's friends is actually getting his motorcycle license this weekend, and I'm like, don't do it, Nick. Don't. There's no good reason for it here.
My brother got rid of his bike. It was one of the he got in a little bit of trouble on his bike, just being a young dumb kid, going too fast. He never had an accident, thank God, but got pulled over and was facing like a significant amount of fines and everything else.
How fast was he going?
So there's a law in Rhode Island. Speeding. Oh, yeah. There's a law in Rhode Island that you can't pass somebody, like you can't pull somebody over that's going over 100. And so my brother was on his way to the beach. So he just had a backpack on and was on his bike, and he was trying to ride in the breakdown lane to avoid beach traffic. And so they pulled him over, and then my brother was like, I don't want this ticket. So he just took off. And what ended up happening was they blocked the exit to stop him.
Poor choice.
So he ended up he got pulled over and threw him on the ground and arrested him because they thought
felony evading or whatever.
That, and they were like, he's a young kid on a bike. Did he have something in his backpack?
Did he steal the bike?
Yeah, which none of that was true. But, he did a couple hours in a holding tank until my dad came and bailed him out. But when he went to jail, when he went to court, they basically, the judge said, you have a good record. You're a good kid. You don't have anything else going on. You're going to ruin your life with this bike. And basically said, there's a program where they will just impound your bike and sell it, and they take the money and give it to charities and stuff. I don't know anything about it, but he said, we're not going to take your bike from you. We're going to let you sell your bike and keep the money and just come back with the paperwork showing that you got rid of your bike. And he did, and he never got another one because it just kind of scared him straight, thank God. But now he's a husband and a father, and I think my sister-in-law would probably kill him if he got another bike, as would I. So
when I got in my accident, it was not because of anything that I was doing, which is crazy because there were nutty times on motorcycles. Like, in the 2000s, you're still talking about like every weekend there was a car meet and a motorcycle meet or whatever it was, and we would go to Clearwater, which from our house probably took 25 minutes tops. Like, not an hour. It takes an hour to get there, from Trinity. And we would go over to the Bayshore Bridge, and we would just be out there, like, doing nutty, stupid stuff.
Yeah.
The two of me and my wife. And never any of those times when we were riding with 100 motorcycles. We were always fairly safe. We would speed or whatever it was. None of that. The 3 times that I really got in significant accidents, one was the first night I ever had a motorcycle.
So you had more than one
I
accident?
had 3. 2 minors.
Okay.
The first one, just not inexperienced, and the bike got away from me, and it actually dumped into a tree, big ass tree. And then probably a year later, we were coming back from the beach, me and my buddy, and then we were, my wife and her friend were in the car in front of us, and me and my buddy were behind them, and he had a smaller engine bike than I did, and he was trying to do a wheelie. And then I thought, my fat ass is going to try to do a wheelie, and that didn't happen at all. I did pop the front wheel up a little bit, but as soon as I did that, the car that was directly in front of us, which was not Miranda, was this old person, and he slammed on his brakes, and then instead of hitting the back of his car, I dumped my bike down into the sand and dirt, and I think I broke my arm and never went to the hospital because it's, when you're 20 and stupid, you don't. So I wrapped it up. We got the motorcycle back to the house, fixed the fairings, and then about 6 months later, I walked in the back of the tailpipe, and I was like, I'm getting rid of this one because I burnt 3rd-degree burn down to the bone on my shin. Didn't do anything. Barely went to the hospital. And the funny part about that story is when I did that, I was thinking about getting rid of that motorcycle anyway because I didn't like it was too small. It was like, okay, I'm done with this one, right? And then I burnt my shin so bad it literally went to the shin bone, and I, instead of doing the responsible thing like going to the hospital, I went to the side of my house, washed it off with a garden hose, and slimed it full of fresh aloe from the side of the house, wrapped it up with an ace bandage. You can still see the scar on my shin. Wrapped it up with an ace bandage and rode around town the rest of the week for like 3 days like that. This was like a Thursday. Go back to school. We're in high school, seniors at this time. And I'm walking into culinary arts class, and I'm limping. And my teacher, who was a rider at the time, he goes, "Dump a bike this week?" And I said, "No, I actually didn't dump my bike." He goes, "What happened?" I said, "I burnt my leg." And he goes, "Let me see it." And we cut it off. I hadn't even told my parents at this point. We cut off the bandage, and we look at it, and it's green.
Infected.
It's green. So I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, I think he needs you to go immediately to the emergency room." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm going to wait the rest of the day. We have a lot of projects going on, whatever."
No.
I did. I waited 3 more days.
God.
I finally went to like this.
You could have lost your leg.
I finally went to this sketchy, one of those walk-in clinics.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm fine. Like it was hurting a little bit at this time. I'm like, it's hurting, starting to hurt down on the top of my foot. I'm like, it's gonna be fine. And it went from green to like really red and nasty, and like my skin was what was left of my skin had started to like come. You've seen extreme burns before, right? So think of that. It's like right here. You can see that little shiny spot on my shin.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So I go to the Spokane clinic, and it's sketchy. And there's like, I think literally at this point, looking back, there's like meth heads in there, and like it was in Holiday, Florida, which is not the anyway, it's the meth capital of the world. So I go in because it was simply on the way. I was riding my motorcycle. I was on my way somewhere, and I could feel the wind flapping on it. I'm like, okay, there's actually probably something going on here. Pull in, wait like an hour and a half. I'm not priority because I'm just a kid that burned his leg,
Right.
I finally get back to probably see what was probably a nurse practitioner at the time. Wraps my leg, and he goes, ooh, like one of those. And I'm like, what's wrong? He goes, when did this happen? I said, it's Thursday, so about a week ago. And he goes, huh? And I'm like, a week? He goes, that can't be possible. You should have a massive infection at this point. I said, well, I've been washing it, and because I was cleaning it, and I was putting, aloe and like trying to. I'm a naturopath. I don't want to do anything, right? So he's like, yeah, man, this is we have to debride this like right now. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we're gonna
scrape it out.
A sponge and clean it. So they did that. Didn't numb it. He just cleaned it. And I'm like, okay. He's like, okay, so then at that point you could see like the striations. You could see like the muscle and the fat in my leg. And I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, this is a 3rd-degree burn. He's like, what did you do? And I said, I walked into the back of my motorcycle tailpipe. And he goes, did you like leave your leg on it? Because normally people just jerk back. And I said, I didn't really notice it until I felt it. He's like, yeah, it burned. It was so hot that it burned the nerves instantly off. So you didn't feel it, and you sat it there. He goes, you burned it down to the top of your shin. And he had like a camera, like one of those remember those old big cameras, like it was digital, but it had like the big screen on it. He takes a picture of it, and you could see like the very edge of my shin bone. And he's like, you shouldn't like really even be walking. Can you feel the top of your foot? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, I've been riding my bike for a week now. So he gives me this ointment. It's like blue something. And he packs it in there, and he's like, you got to do this every 3 to 4 hours. You got to clean it, debride it all the time. I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. So I go back home, and my wife, at the time, we're still my girlfriend at the time. She comes over, and I've told the story many times. Let me sit up because I'm slouching. This chair gets me. Every time. I'm like, I'm not doing this. And Miranda's like, you're 100% going to take care of this. Because you're going to lose your leg. Because that's what he told me. He's like, oral medication, you're going to lose your leg. Like, come back and see me in a week. So she takes the bandage off, and it was the worst I'd ever seen it. It was blood, and it was disgusting. If you're trigger warning if you're out there. So she cleans it out for me. And I'm like, I'm literally sitting in my bathroom going, we'd been dating like maybe a couple months at this time. Like, we had been high school sweethearts where, she was a sophomore, I was a senior, and like, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we had been dating maybe a couple months, and I literally thought at that moment, I'm like, if she'll do this, I'm probably going to marry this girl. And then I think like 18 months later, we got engaged or something like that. So it's a terrible story, but a sweet story.
Yeah. Happy ending.
Happy ending. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's what we do on the show. We talk about things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably should have been when I decided not to. And then the year we got married in March. In November, first, like the 3rd, November 4th, 3rd or 5th, something like that. I was coming home from work, and a lady pulled out in front of me. And the issue is not that she pulled out in front of me. The issue is that she stopped when she saw me, because I had already made adjustments to go around the back of her. So when I did that, I dipped my bike this way, and she stopped directly in front of me, and my motorcycle wound up hitting the side of her passenger door. I flew over the top of the car 65 feet and landed from one crosswalk to another. Shattered my femur, lost the end of my toe, broke one of these hands and wrists. My very expensive watch that I got on our honeymoon exploded, and it was inside of my hands up into my arms. Yeah, it was like little pieces of steel. The scars are still here.
Oh my god!
So it exploded and went down into my hands and up in my arm, and there's a bunch of scars here that are now covered by tattoos. But yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
that was it.
I don't do blood and gore. Like, I couldn't work in an ER.
Oh, you totally could.
No.
If you could deal with earwax.
No. Not the same.
It's a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I'm not good in a crisis. You don't want me around. I actually rolled up.
Are you a panicker?
Yeah. And case in point, a couple months ago, I was directly behind a motorcycle accident over on the Sun Coast. So I was driving home from work, and it was two guys on a bike, and I don't know where they were coming from. I'm making an assumption they were coming home from work or something, and the bike just tipped. There wasn't an accident, they didn't hit anything. I don't know, he just lost control of the bike, and we were in there's 3 lane, like they ended up basically falling, skidding, and rolling into the median. And I was 1 or 2 cars behind, and I pulled over. I don't know how. It was terrifying, because I thought for sure, I was like, oh my God, I called it in, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to roll up on these people being dead. Thank God they were fine. But what ended up happening was they got so lucky that the oncoming traffic from the lanes that they rolled across, that they didn't get run over. Yeah. They got so lucky. And then any knowledge of the Spanish language I had went out the window, because they spoke Spanish. So I'm trying to talk to them, and I'm like, I can't remember a lick of Spanish. Yeah. I'm like on the phone, I'm calling 911. A bunch of people stopped and helped. Thank God somebody else stopped that spoke Spanish. Yeah. But man, I couldn't do anything. I was just like, I couldn't talk to them. I was like, I knew enough to call 911, and then that was it. I was panicked.
You're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So I'm the complete opposite. If everybody is panicking in my house, I'm like, calm down.
No, not me.
Yeah.
I'm not. You don't want me in a crisis.
I am mostly completely calm in a crisis like that. If it's like one of the kids gets hurt, I'm like, it's okay. It's fine. Case in point, last night, here's a fresh story for everybody. Nobody's heard this one yet. So last night, my son was out. He came home with his friends, and my wife is on this amazing baking kick so I mentioned just a second ago, we met at culinary art school. She was in the baking program. I was in the cooking program, which I love to cook. It's like a passion. I don't ever do it anymore, but I love to, like, if I'm going to cook, I'm going to cook, right?
Okay.
She loves to bake. She's always been great at it. So many years ago, she had a small bakery. She was running from the house. She kind of let it go, but now she started again she calls it Sweet Bee Bakery. So she's been like cooking. She's been baking bread and all kinds of stuff every single day at my house, like fresh bread, which is great because it's really good for you. Like, 3-ingredient bread is way better than the stuff you buy from the grocery store.
For sure, yeah.
So you don't feel like garbage when you eat. Anyway, like, she makes cookies between her and my daughter. My daughter is really good at it too. They'll make cookies like a couple times a week, so there's like fresh cookies at her house, so she knows they're coming over. So she made a dozen, then she made another dozen. So they're over at the house, they're eating whatever, the boys get ready to leave, and they're in our kitchen, and our house is built in the 70s, so the ceilings are like 7 foot tall. They're tiny little ceilings. Mm-hmm. So my son, who is 6'3", reaches up like this to stretch and punches the fluorescent lights that go across the top, punches it, knocks. He thinks he just turns it off because it knocks, right? So his friends leave, and we go in the kitchen, and Leo's like, do you smell that? I'm like, smell what? And Miranda's like, Mike! And I'm like, what is going on?
Fire.
They had turned the bulb in there to the bezel inside had turned, so it was a positive to positive connection, and it was going to catch on fire.
Oh my God.
And they're like, Dad, what are you going to do? I'm like, turn the power
light
off.
Yeah.
And then it was stuck. And Leo's like, do I need to go outside and turn? I'm like, chill. Relax, dude. Like, it's fine. There's no power running to this. We're good. But it was like, when I finally got it out, you could see where it had burned a hole through the rubber.
Oh.
And the ends of the tube were burnt. So, like, I guess I don't blame him. I'm not saying that.
No.
But I'm glad he found it. But that's a good example to where, like, they were like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, we're going to fix it.
Yeah. It'll be okay.
Calm down. Like, we, not to make it the Mike show, but it is because it's my show.
Of course.
You know, every time there's like, I deal with different things different ways. I think one of the most stressful things that we can do is own a business. You know this. I know this.
Yeah.
You know, we have the show, but we have a company called MX3 Productions, and we do this for other people, right? So, which is, the challenge is always getting clients. That's the kind of stuff I'm having a hard time maintaining control with, like freaking out because we lose a client is like significantly impactful to our ability to like do anything.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a fallback, right?
Right.
And I have these panic moments where I can't sleep, or I'll be like, oh my God, if we don't get a client this week, what are we going to do? Which is no way to run a business. I understand that. Like, freaking out is not going to help anybody. But that's when I freak out. If it's like, plane crash outside, I'm like, we're going to be okay. Let's go, move forward.
Yeah.
But
it's tough. I think that I was in a more fortunate position than most people. So I started my business from scratch, but I had a lot of help and support. There really wasn't too much risk involved in me starting a business.
Okay, wait a second. Let's hear that out.
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
my point being, I give people a lot of credit that don't have the backing that I had.
Well, let's get to that. So, like, I think what you do is a incredibly niche thing. Like, I don't know a lot of people who, like, there's the Hearings Plus and all those places, right?
Yeah.
Where you go in, or like you can get hearing aids at Walmart, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, when we were in the networking group, it'd be something you consistently would talk about. Like, that is not really
the place to go.
Not the place to go.
No.
And I'd be like, okay, sure. Like, and then you see it in practical life, like with Steve's, really nice hearing aids. I'm like, okay, he probably didn't get those at Walmart.
No.
Right? So why did you choose this field? What led you to like literally, he's like, I'm gonna go work on eardrums.
Oh my gosh, it's so random.
Okay.
It's so random. I'll try and condense it.
No, we have unlimited time.
So it's one of those things, like, you knew hearing aids existed, but I never thought of that being a career. Mm-hmm. So I was always really big into business. I wanted to go to a business school. We didn't grow up with money. I always wanted to travel. We didn't have the means to travel. So I was like, okay, I will do international business or some sort of, I think my dream job back in the day would have been to be an ambassador, some sort of foreign policy, international business work.
Okay.
That's really what I wanted. And I, for either 4 or 6 years, worked at Bryant University. It was the World Trade Center for Rhode Island, which, but I worked on this campus, and I had worked on really cool projects. I mean, I was just an intern. I wasn't overly involved in this process. I'm not trying to make it sound like bigger than it was, but we worked on, a geothermal energy project with Iceland, and supply chain agreements with Colombia, and a trade agreement with Estonia, and just really cool stuff. And I said, okay, I want to do business. I've always been really bad at math. And what ended up happening was, when I applied to that school, which I had worked there all through high school, that was always my summer job. I had been there forever. It was on my application that I worked there, and I didn't get into this prestigious business school. And the person that ran that department basically said to me, he was like, I have a meeting over in the admissions building. Like, do you want me to handle this? Basically, right. Like, we can get you into the school. And I just said no. I said I didn't want to do, and this has been my personality my whole life. If I didn't earn something, I didn't want it handed to me. So I said, okay. And I ended up just at state school. I went to URI, and I was trying to get through the business program, and I was going to do it my own way. I was going to do it. And I just hated the math. I hated doing stats. I hated doing calculus. It was not my thing. But I was very good in high school. I was always pretty academically gifted. So I went in with a bunch of credits through AP courses and all this other stuff. And I had some friends that were taking electives in communication science disorders, which is the prereq for speech pathology. And I have an aunt that's a speech pathologist. I said, okay, I'll do that. And I took the intro courses and really liked it. So then I ended up declaring for ComDis, which is the prereq for speech pathology. I thought I was going to be a speech pathologist. I had kind of found my thing. It's the same bachelor's degree for speech pathology and audiology. You just either declare your master's in speech or your doctorate in audiology. So then towards the end is when they introduced the audio classes. And then I was like, wait a minute, I think I really like audiology more. So I did an internship in undergrad in audiology, which they don't really have, but I got an internship at Rhode Island Hospital, which is the teaching hospital for Brown. And that was close to home. And I ended up doing that, loved it. And so I thought going into audiology school, I wanted to be more medical. I was going to do balance, cochlear implants, intraoperative monitoring. And so when I got my grad assistantship, they had kind of placed me with a professor that was doing more of the medical work. And then I got into hearing aids in private practice. And I was like, oh, I think I like this more. And there's not a lot of people that were approaching hearing aids more medically. And that's kind of how I found my niche. And I liked private practice because I had the ability to work for myself. I was more business oriented. when I got my so it's 8 years of school to be an audiologist. It's the same length as medical school, but we don't have an additional residency. So your final 4th year of grad school, your 8th year total of school, it was like a combined distance learning and residency program. And I was in New York and working at a practice that I hated the experience. I did not like the guy I was working for, and we can like get into life lessons with that too. But I would do it again in a heartbeat because it really taught me what I wanted, but also like what I didn't want to be as an audiologist.
Yeah.
And I made really good connections. And I ended up meeting this one guy named Keith Lewis, who's been my mentor. I just talked to him on Thursday. I don't get to talk to him often, but when I do, we always just have these like really profound, impactful conversations. And he was an executive at a hearing aid manufacturer that I work with. And at the time, I was the #1 dispensing provider for the region for all of upstate New York and Western Mass, and just killing it. I found my thing. I found something I was good at, loved it, and he really took me under his wing. And all of my higher level introductions, I would say, industry-wise, I got from that position. So yeah, it was a drastic turn just from business and international stuff, and like everything I thought I wanted to do just had this really weird way of being back in audiology. And now I still get the business aspect because I own my own business. The travel itch, I get that because I have the freedom and flexibility to be able to travel and do what I want. But I still have that in me as far as wanting to do policy work and change. And I think the next path of my career, and I have the opportunity to do it if I want to, and if I want to take that risk, I want to start doing more healthcare reform and advocacy and working more on a national level. I love my clinic. I'll never get rid of it. And I like patient care. A lot of people want to move out of patient care.
Yeah.
I have no desire to. I genuinely love what I do.
Yeah.
But I
We are
do
a people
think
person, so.
Yeah, but I do think I would be more impactful and able to help more people if I started working more on a national scale. I think that's my next move.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, that's so like. Let me unpack that for a second.
Yeah, I hate you with a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. So why? I guess my big question is why now here? Why Florida? What brought you here from the Northeast?
So I'm from Rhode Island originally. Did my undergrad at URI. Got my doctoral degree at Texas Tech. Did my residency in upstate New York outside of Rochester. And we were sitting at work one day, one of my preceptors and I, my friend Kim, we got 18 inches of snow in 4 hours, and they shut down 490 where we're all about to be stranded. And I just looked at her and I said, I'm done. I'm moving to Florida. And I did. And I took my first job out of school at the first place that would hire me, which was Here USA. It was a nightmare, but I learned. I was only there 9 months. I didn't even last a full year. I just knew corporate work was not for me. Yeah. It was not a good fit. I hated my time there. And what ended up happening, like drawing everything back to Keith, I was so desperate to get out of Here USA. And I called him and another mentor of mine, Bill Lavender, who owns a consulting agency. And I just said, I need out. Like, help me get a job somewhere. And I had job offers in Boston, Dallas, Atlanta, and Tampa. And I could have owned my first practice shortly, like less than a year, right when I left Here USA, because I wasn't even there a year. Resound, which is one of the manufacturers I work with that they both work with, there was a guy trying to sell his office in Boston, and they didn't want to lose market share. And they just said, we will finance the sale of this practice for you if you want to move home. And I said, okay. So I thought I was going back to Boston. And what ended up happening was the guy that owned the business found a cash buyer who basically just gave him $1 million. Yeah. I didn't have $1 million. So he took that cash offer, and that had fallen through. I knew I didn't want the job in Dallas. I definitely didn't want the job in Atlanta. The job in Dallas, I had considered moving back to Texas because I had dated somebody for a really long time when I went to school there, and I kind of thought, like, I'll move back to Texas, and like thank God that didn't work out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
she leaves to go.
Looking back, thank God that was a blessing that didn't happen.
To Tampa bound.
But when I came, when I the
Hear
the job
love call. Sorry.
No. the job in Tampa was ENT, and I never wanted to work ENT. The thing with working, ENTs and audiologists sometimes don't get along because a lot of ENTs kind of treat their audiologists like techs, and there's a bit of like a superiority complex with the surgeons versus everybody that works underneath them. So but I got really good advice a long time ago, and I still give it to everybody, is just never cancel a job interview. So I went to this job interview with the ENTs, and I walked in and I basically said thanks but no thanks. And the guy that interviewed me, Scott Anderson, Dr. Anderson, great guy, he was trying to tell me, he's like, you don't want to move to Boston. It's cold. Like, come be here. You've been in Florida. Enjoy the weather. And he was such a nice guy. And I really liked the group when I had interviewed with them. They had really outdated and old equipment. They needed a lot of stuff. I just enjoyed my interview and chatting and hanging out with them. And I said, look, like, I'm going to move home, but I really like you guys and I'm going to help you. And I gave them contacts of people. I said, call this person and say you talk to me and they'll give you a deal on new equipment. And they were asking me questions about how to run a practice, how I would do things if I was going to go there, how would I change things. And I did. I sat down for an hour and chatted with everybody. I was like, I would do this, this, and this. Flash forward a couple weeks later, find out I'm not going to Boston. I called that surgeon back and I just said, is that job still available? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, can you give me X, Y, Z? And he was like, let me get back to you. And he calls me back. There was no negotiation. He was just like, yeah, we'll give it to you. And I was like, I started high. I got paid very, very well. Yeah. And I was there for 5 years. I didn't think I would leave that job. And I never thought I wanted to work ENT. It's the best experience. It's where I got a lot more hands-on with medical knowledge. They never treated me poorly at all. I had a great relationship with every ENT I've ever worked with, but I also earned that relationship because they really respected me. I was good at my job. I was fast. I was efficient. I made them a lot of money with hearing aids, but I knew what to do, and they taught me a lot. Before I get anybody in trouble, I was never working outside of my license, but they had trained me in the sense that I got to function more like a PA. So if I wanted an MRI or an ultrasound or blood work or CTs, I knew what they were going to order. And so I would just like go, put stuff in or tell them, hey, like they need X, Y, and Z. And they loved it because their job was a lot easier, but that's not something within the scope of my license, right. So we had a great working relationship. And I've always said, I was like, I don't really like ENTs, but I love mine, I ended up leaving because there was a massive merger with all of the ENTs in the Tampa area. And now the majority of ENTs in the entire state of Florida are under one organization. Oh, wow. So I never had, they got bought out by a venture capitalist group, and then it turns into corporate medicine, and it's a whole thing. And I had a boss, like the ENT, the physicians were my bosses, but I never had anybody directly above me with audiology. And I got to kind of run the show within my department. And then after that merger, I had a boss now that was located in Boca, and nothing personal against her. It's just I don't thrive in corporate settings. And when you become that large of an organization, you have your SOPs of the way that things need to function, and we have to do things this way, this way, this way, this way. And my wings got clipped a little bit. And of the 4 doctors that I was working for, all but one of them had left. And so one of the surgeons I was working with had left about a year before me, and that's still who I work with now, Dr. Brown. And he would call me constantly, I don't have an audiologist, we're sending people somewhere else, I don't really like where we're sending them, why don't you come over here, you can do your own thing, And I just kind of took a leap of faith, and I was like, okay. And that's going back without getting on too much of a tangent. I had a lot of resources and things that were available to help me. I didn't have as much risk with my startup compared to other audiologists that start their own practice.
Well, yeah, but you had, like you said, you earned it. You did all the work.
Yeah,
you did it the right way, right? Like you first, when you first started to talk to them, you already had an established network, right? So I think that's what people don't do anymore when they open any kind of business. They think that, one of the best things, even though I'm not involved in it anymore, was being in the networking group we were in to help me launch my company, right?
Right.
So it's obviously not the same. I spent 20 years in the commercial retail space and sales and all kinds of other stuff. Never in a million years did I think that I would own a video production company and help people like define their brand and stuff like that. But it turns out that's what I had been doing for 20 plus years, you know, because I treated every sales job I was at like it was my own little company and my own little brand. That's why people continued to come to me even when I changed jobs or places. It still happens today. And from what I've seen, not a lot of people do that like you did. Like you did the work, you put the time in, you developed the connections, you established those relationships and kept them going,
right?
Which is the most difficult thing to do.
But it's the most important.
It is.
And I think what happens is people don't, like, I always try and approach it from a place of humility, and I think some of it is truly being humble, and some of it really just comes down to imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Which we can get into. I struggle with that a lot. But as far as opening my office or any business, sometimes people will come up to me and say, like, oh, your business is doing, other hearing care professionals, oh, but your business is doing so well for not even having been 5 years. And I always just say, look, like, I had a lot of help. And so I always give credit to those people that helped me. The reality of the situation was I was always good with my money. I had a very high paying job before I left. I was able to put money away. I've always been very business minded. I had access to executives and consultants for any sort of piece of business advice that I wanted. My rent, I've never had, I'm saying this and I said this on another podcast. One day I'm going to thank him. I haven't done it yet because I just don't want to make it awkward. And he doesn't know that I know. And so I don't want to put him in that situation. But the reality of the situation is I found out that the ENT that I work with now, Dr. Brown, guaranteed my rent on my building. So what had happened was I left my job in September of 21 at the ENT office. And I knew I wasn't going to get another vacation for a long time. And I had money saved and I said, screw it, I'm going to Europe. And I took a few months off and I traveled a lot. And I wrote my business plan on trains and hotels and everything else. But he had office space 2 doors down from him. I mean, you know where my office is, right? It's right next to Bayonet Point Hospital. So it's like it's in a medical plaza right next to the hospital, yeah. So he's in one office, I'm in another office, and I said I was going to take this building. Well, the landlord sends me I was sight unseen. I was in Spain at the time. Sends me the drawings of the inside of the building as far as I'm planning. Okay, this is where all my different exam rooms are going to be. Come to find out, it didn't even match the floor plan of what they had, which was another chaotic thing. But they had a chiropractor that was in there that was a con artist, a literal con artist. It was during COVID. He moved in, he paid his deposit, and then claimed it as a domicile, as a residence, and they weren't doing evictions during COVID, and he was living out of the unit and never saw patients. So
was he a legit chiropractor?
He was a legit chiropractor, but he wasn't really seeing anybody. Okay. I think he was like seeing people if they came to him, you know, he's like 1 or 2 clients a week, and then that was it. So they were trying to start the eviction process to get him out, and that's when they were going to give me this lease. So I had signed everything, did whatever. And then they go to evict him, and then the guy says, well, I'm living here, you can't evict me, which is illegal. You can't like live in a commercial space. Right. But it didn't matter. That it was had all of the COVID eviction moratoriums going on. And so he knew that. So he paid an initial deposit, and then that was it. Just never left. So what ended up happening was my ENT that I work with convinced the landlord to basically do a cash for keys situation, and they paid him to leave the unit. And so the landlord gave him cash, and the ENT basically said, I know her. I know she's good for the money. I know that she's really good at her job. I know that she's a good tenant. She's going to take care of her unit. And I know that I have enough business in order to feed her business. And if she, for some reason, doesn't pay her rent, come see me and I'll pay her rent for her. Nice guy.
Great connections.
Yeah. And it was years later. I mean, I only just found out about this maybe a year ago. The landlord told me that story.
That's incredible.
It's for the record, he's never had to pay my rent. But it was nice that he was willing to do that for me. So when you add up all of those things about like I had funding and I had personal financial health, and then I had the ENT that was helping me. I had a built-in referral source. I had business acumen inherently within me, being very entrepreneurial. I was in a much different position than most people. But when I opened my office and you are like really strapped for cash, I mean, I did everything. I was a one-woman show.
Yeah.
You know, I saw patients. I worked the front, the back, the phones, the insurance. I did everything for 6 months by myself before I hired my first employee. And I'm not scared of the grind, you know?
Yeah. So you said maybe next is like doing something on a bigger level.
Yeah.
Where would that leave the practice? What would you just
I
reduce your time?
I would probably see patients 2 days a week and do 3 days a week of more industry work and hire somebody else.
So what's that look like if you did that? Like let's go down the hypothetical rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
So you decide you want to get into like almost like the public sector, trying to help your field be more affordable, I would assume, more accessible.
Yes. I mean, my background's obviously in audiology.
Yeah.
And my connections are within audiology. But I think we need general healthcare reform too.
100%.
So I think one road leads to another. So I don't know if I just want to work in the audiology space or if I want to work doing a bunch of Medicare reform. I'm a huge this is a soapbox I can get on and never get off, but Medicare Advantage. There's so many.
Yeah, I've heard you say that many times.
Oh my God. Like the problem with Medicare Advantage, I believe that Medicare shouldn't be in the name. It's very misleading to people, and you're taking advantage of people that don't have an understanding of what they're getting into. And so Medicare Advantage is a replacement plan. It's private insurance, and when you enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan, you are basically waiving your right, more or less, to Medicare. And so you are no longer a patient of the physician, you're a patient of the insurance company, and you're allowing the insurance company to dictate your care. And the insurance agents that enroll people into Medicare Advantage get paid higher commissions to put people on that plan.
You think,
I just want more transparency
I
around what it
guess
is.
that's what I was trying to say is like, you think how do you tackle a problem like that? Because it's not just, like you just mentioned, it's not just the system itself, it's the people that are involved in it. Like the people who their biggest time of the year is from November to January because it's open enrollment, right? So it's every health insurance person you've ever seen on the internet selling 37 different varieties of insurance, right? Those in some ways can be predatory if you're not dealing with the right kind of person.
It is predatory. The nature of the system is predatory in and of itself. But there are people that need to be on Medicare Advantage because they can't afford a supplement. You can't just have Medicare because Medicare, there's no cap to it. So there's an 80-20 coinsurance with Medicare. Basically what that means is that you are responsible for 20% of all of your care under Medicare.
Yeah. I'm a very conservative person, right? But I would say that I think that healthcare should be free for everybody. I think no matter your status, whether or not, and it seems to be that if everybody had an equal opportunity to have affordable, I'm not saying free, I'm not saying it has to be nothing, but let's go back to where if you're under not even income bracket, if you're just like, insurance could be $10 a month for everybody. Every person has it. Every person you see has insurance, and you can go wherever you want, right? I don't know that that's the right path or even the right idea. I just feel like you shouldn't have to sacrifice, because I know there's free insurance if you're poor, basically, right? But it's
the worst thing you
great.
can be in the United States is lower middle class.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because if you're poor enough, everything you get for free.
Yeah, it's not
and
great.
then if you're wealthy enough, then you have the funds to pay for it. But the worst thing you can be is middle class. Yeah,
so like insurance, if we want, like we have insurance for the kids, we don't have personal insurance. Yeah. If I wanted to do that, it would be like an astronaut. I'd rather just put
I mean, I'm a doctor. I believe in healthcare, and I don't have health insurance. I have a $10,000 emergency deductible plan, and everything else I pay cash for because my premiums were close to $900 a month.
Yeah, astronomical.
Yeah,
it's thousands of dollars a month for a family, which is crazy. Even if you're middle class and you are making Florida now, you have to make, if you have 2 kids and you're married, you have to make darn near $180,000 a year to be considered middle class because of how expensive everything is. Even then, you're looking at $1,200 or $1,300 a month.
I had a conversation with somebody in Denmark and said something about like, I think to be truly comfortable and not want for anything and feel comfortable, I think it'd be about $200,000 to have kids. And they thought I was insane for making that comment. And I was like, no. And then I told, you add up the cost of healthcare and this and this and this and this and housing and and putting money away for retirement and all this extra stuff. And that concept to people that live in a socialist country where things are paid for them is odd.
That's probably why places like that have not a higher birth rate, but they have more children per person. So they're
also paying 50% in anywhere from 40 to 55% in taxes. But everything is it works out one way or the other. You're either getting it for free with taxes, or you're having to pay for it out of pocket.
Well, I think it's fascinating that you want to try to do something. I would be interested in knowing. I mean, I'm sure you don't have a plan, but I mean, there's. I think there are ways in getting good people in the system or the machine to try to fix it. A couple months ago, I interviewed a lady who's running for county commissioner, and her name is Stephanie Vasquez. She's a very nice lady, very nice. I don't agree with a single thing other than the fact that she wants to hold developers accountable for what they're doing to Pasco. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I don't agree with her political stances whatsoever.
But those are good conversations to have. And I think that's the problem, is people aren't willing to talk to the other side of the aisle. So I'm glad you had that conversation.
Her answer to the overdevelopment is to hold the 5 developers basically that are doing things accountable, and not allow them to use different companies to buy pieces of property, and which the problem with that, and she admitted it too, is most of that stuff's on a 10-year plan. They know 10 years ahead of time what they're doing. Development doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And the funny part about this is she's not from here. She's only been here 3 years. She lives out in Wesley Chapel, and she bought a house in one of those areas that were overdeveloped. Her house is 5 years old. That house didn't exist 5 years ago. She bought it after COVID.
Right.
She's part of the problem. Mm-hmm. I asked her, I said, if you wanted to live here so bad, which she did, why didn't you buy a house in an established neighborhood where the houses are 30 or 40 years old, and just spend the same amount of money and redo that neighborhood and raise the neighborhood up, right?
What'd she say?
She had no answer. Mm. She's like, well, the roads in West Pasco or this, but East Pasco has these roads, and I'm like, yeah, they're all new and they're all overcrowded. They didn't build them big enough. That's where she lives. I said, East Pasco has got the traffic is horrendous out there.
Yeah, if you're driving down 52 or 54, it's
horrendous.
Yeah.
No matter what they do, they couldn't have made it wide enough because there's not enough room, right? So it's and then every space that they have, they're putting freaking condos or houses on it. And we had that conversation, and she's, it's Swift Mud, and it's this, and it's expansion. And I'm not anti-progress. I'm pro reasonably doing it. Over here, where we're at right now, which shout out to the Angelus. This is an awesome place. They're going to develop all around here. Every bit of property that's not this is going to be houses in the next 15 years. Mm-hmm. Across the street, they're doing it right now. Mm-hmm. They're putting 500 houses in over there. Mm-hmm. That was a cow pasture. When we first started coming here for networking, there was nothing there.
Right.
So it's insane. And she didn't really have a great answer for it. I hope that she makes some type of headway in it. But she's like, well, we're going to hold these people accountable. And I'm like, well, you're one person. There's 12 other people. There's 12 other districts. She's like, well, we all have to vote on things.
I mean, I'll give you a personal anecdote. I've quelled some of my enthusiasm from a personal experience where I sued an insurance company in federal court. That's kind of where I started first getting some of my national recognition within the audiology mm-hmm. community. Was I'll forever be known as the girl that sued True Hearing in federal court. And I ended up, so there were Google pages that showed up with provider names on them. So it would say Dr. Leigh Smith with a photo of the outside of my office, like a Google Maps thing. And the phone number was not my phone number. It was the 800 number for True Hearing. And it wasn't just me. There were multiple pages that showed up like this. So I will say, before I get in trouble, they've denied having anything to do with the pages.
Of course they did.
And we won't know. I dismissed it without prejudice, meaning that I basically just got bogged down financially. They were never going to settle. I was never going to settle. For me, it had nothing to do with getting my money back. I had wanted to turn it into a bigger class action issue, and you needed an initial suit in order to open it up. And that for me, it was more ideological. They could have offered me $1 million or $5 million times. I never would have settled it. Because for me, that was where I first started to say, they're getting too involved in overstepping stepping. Like I've said, they've denied it, but the thing that was a little suspicious and why we filed the suit, within the hearing care community, you have hearing instrument specialists and you have audiologists. So the distinction between the two things, as a doctor of audiology, I went to school for 8 years, more medically tracked, we have a larger scope of practice. A hearing instrument specialist or a hearing aid specialist, we call them dispensers. They're just dispensing hearing aids. You only need a high school diploma and then training. And you don't even have to pass, at least in Florida, a clinical practicum showing that you can demonstrate a hearing test on a patient, right? They knew, whoever created the Google pages, who was an audiologist, who was a dispenser, and who had what level of degree. Because anybody that was an audiologist, it said doctor in front of their name, and everybody else had Mr. or Miss.
Yeah.
So whoever made the pages knew the educational status of the provider. That was kind of like, in my opinion, the alleged smoking gun. Yeah. But I don't know. So anyway, I spent about $20,000 on that lawsuit, which 5 years ago, I mean, $20,000 is, I'm not trying to say that's not a lot of money, but I might spend $20,000 in a week at work. 5 years ago, that might have been $1 million to me. But it was personal. I was fighting the good fight. So I put my money where my mouth was. Where I got humbled was I ended up not having a lot of backing, in the sense where everyone was in an uproar. I created this rage. They knew about it internationally. I got picked up in Denmark, so the majority of the world's hearing aids are manufactured in Denmark. So audio, we have like a lot of connections with Danish people. And nothing came out of it because there was not a professional organization or, either at a state or federal level or other people that had joined that lawsuit. It was kind of like, we're going to let Leigh take care of it. And then if we happen to get a settlement check out of it, we'll cash the check. But nobody really stepped in to help.
That's crazy.
And I just couldn't afford to have it be a one-woman show.
Yeah.
But
it's a $1 billion company.
Yeah. I think it was a little delusional on my part to think that I could, but I really was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to fight the good fight. I don't regret doing it. But as far as healthcare reform, like another personal anecdote, I had a breast cancer scare a couple of years ago. I think,
I remember.
And I just remember going to the doctor saying, I feel something, I think something's wrong, having to fight just to get a mammogram because they said
too young.
Yep. So I had to fight for that. I had a cousin that had breast cancer who was younger than me. And I said, well, my cousin has it. And they said, oh, it's not it's a far enough away familial relation. So anyway, I fought to get the mammogram, got the mammogram, found a spot on the mammogram. Then it moves to an ultrasound comes back that I need to do a biopsy. Well, what really irritated me was they said, it's the same radiologist, it's the same procedure. What changes it is the facility code, right? So you have office procedures and you have hospital codes, and then you have outpatient. There's all different levels. Sure. And I understand why, because your costs are higher for hospital. They need more money on reimbursement to sustain a hospital setting versus an outpatient procedure setting. But they said, our next outpatient appointment with Baycare for them to do your breast biopsy is like 5 or 6 months out, but we could see you in the hospital in 3 weeks, but it's going to be $1,800 versus $3,200. And I got my scans back for my ultrasound, and it was classed as a RAD4. A RAD4 means you have a 50-50 chance of it being cancer. It's a 50% risk. So I was like, you just told me I have a 50-50 chance that I have cancer, and you're telling me I can wait 5 or 6 months to find out I have cancer, or I can wait 3 weeks to find out I have cancer, but only if I have the money to pay for it. And that now I had the money, so I was able to do it. But what about the people that didn't have money?
Right.
It's a very scary position to be in.
I feel like it's just, I think this is why people fail at it, is that it's just there's so much wrong about it. There's every step of it, there's something that just shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying?
I think that the hot take that a lot of people have is trying to vilify doctors, and I always come to doctors' defense because they'll say, well, it's so expensive and you build this, and this, and this, and I can talk.
But they're beholden to what they're told to bill.
Correct. You have to play a game when it comes to billing insurance companies about billing an astronomical amount because you have to go through the negotiating game of going back and forth. There's a great doctor, Elizabeth Potter, in Austin, Texas, and she has a surgery center called Rosebud Surgery Center. She has been all over TikTok and Instagram in this massive fight with insurance companies, particularly United Healthcare, but I think also a little bit with Blue Cross. She's a breast reconstructive surgeon, and she does a lot of vascular microsurgeries, and she does this one really specialized procedure called a deep flap. And it's an expensive surgery, but she wants it done at her surgery center for various reasons. She didn't like the OR setup. The patient outcomes weren't as good. She said that I can deliver higher quality care for a lower cost, and United wouldn't let her be in network. And insurance companies are no longer allowing physicians to own their own surgery centers. So this is becoming a big issue. Correct. Yeah. But there is Medicare transparency laws. So she called the hospital one day and said, how much is going to cost for me? How much would it cost with these codes to do this procedure at the hospital? And it was over $400,000. And so she said, perfect. I can do it for 17. Don't want to do it. They don't want to let her in network.
Yeah. It's like a couple of times I've been in a motorcycle accident, but a couple of different car accidents too. So again, the mileage and the incidents. Anyway, I was in a pretty bad one. Probably was in November of 23, so it's going on 3 years ago. I was coming home I left an office meeting and I went to go pick up my son a little early from high school, and we're coming out of Mitchell High at the time, and we're pulling out, and I had a green light, and somebody ran the red light and hit the whole front of our car, smashed the whole car. Whole front end was gone. If it had been another foot, it would have been me, right?
Yeah.
And then every airbag in the van went off. And now I don't want to say unscathed because I wound up getting some additional herniation. So like, to put this in perspective, most people, I think, and you probably would be aware of this, most people, as you get older, you wind up getting herniations just from age. Mm-hmm. Having one or two is uncomfortable. Yeah. I have 12. Yeah. 2 of them cervical, most of them in my mid and lower back, and then obviously the neck. And this one accident did 2, so I went from 10 to 12 overnight, and it's funny because you go you obviously you sue, right? And you talk. I have a chiropractor, and I know you don't love chiropractors.
No, I'm very anti-chiropractor.
I love my chiropractor. He's a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. Chase, shout out Chase Tecubulus and Beyond Bones. And I have been a chiropractic person since my first accident. My previous chiropractor is I tell you, I will look you in the face, and it is the only reason I can walk is because very shortly when I was able to get up and move around with the assistance of a walker. My hip was not in my hip mm-hmm. joint whatsoever. He put it in. Mm-hmm. It hurt real bad, but pretty much after that, it was significantly easier to walk. So I think that I'm going to go on a tangent now. I think what you think sometimes is it's voodoo medicine, and there's not a lot of.
No, that's not even. I've seen a chiropractor. I love it. My issue with chiropractors is my personal experience within the medical world with chiropractors. So prior to working in medicine, I've had chiropractic adjustments. Mm-hmm. To me, they didn't help me, but that's not why I don't like them. My problem is that we see a lot of patients that have been hurt by chiropractors. So and they always say oh, it's safe to adjust your neck. I'm telling you, as someone that works at a trauma center, the amount of people that stroke out, or I'm not going to say who, but somebody else from our networking group has seen me and had carotid artery complications as a result of neck adjustments. So just if you want to go to a chiropractor and have them adjust you, that's fine.
Some of that stuff is already there, right?
No. You can get a lot of carotid issues from neck adjustments. Chiropractic adjustments are also the number 1 cause of vertigo for BPPV. So I always see these ads that will come up online about we fix vertigo. I'm but you're the number 1 cause of vertigo in my experience.
For me, it works fantastic. Right?
I think it's great. I just tell people just don't let them manually.
Oh yeah, I do all the time.
Pop your neck.
I need to go because I have some.
It's just dangerous.
So part of all the issues is I have some numbness and tingling. It happens. I'm willing to accept the fact that I'm not right now my finger is numb and maybe.
But I'll give you another quick piece of unsolicited advice. If you need back surgery,
I don't.
But if in the
don't.
future,
Yeah.
don't
never
ever
do
let an orthopedic do it. It has to be done by a neurosurgeon.
I will never do it.
Okay.
Even if they say like you have to do it, I'd rather be in a wheelchair, I think.
Yeah?
I don't want my back cut I don't want any part of my body cut open ever again. It's not fun.
Well, no.
So I would choose not to do it. And you don't ever know.
Never say never.
You never say
Yeah.
never, but
But
I mean,
but
I would be. My strategy is avoidance. So like I know there are things that I can do with my current condition.
This is the male medical model.
Right. This is me. Avoidance, right? So I can try to take care of my body better. I can eat the right things, which I don't always do. I can drink plenty of fluids, which I do. I down probably a gallon of water a day, and like, I try to stretch and I see Chase when I feel bad, and I know every time I go, and I have numbness in an area, or my back is hurting, or my ribs come out of place, which is not fun, and I know they're out because you can like when you turn, it feels like a rib is broken, and he pops them and he puts them back in the place. Or when we take our kids, and my daughter who's a now competitive gymnastics, which is super fun, he gets some of the tendons, and he's not like the normal chiropractor. He's like, come in and pop your back, see you later. He'll do other things. He'll like adjust wrists and all this other stuff. For us, it works fine.
I think it's great for people that find relief from it.
Yeah.
Again, I'm speaking from what we see medically, the bad parts of it, because by the time they're coming to see us, something already happened negative during their adjustment.
Yeah, you're only seeing the bad.
Yeah.
Well, and then the point of this is like when that accident happened, like the amount of money he was able to bill for to the insurance company versus what it would have just paid me to go in for. And he's like, it's crazy because, and of course you negotiate down and all these things with your attorneys, which are also mostly terrible. The attorneys are mostly terrible. But yeah, like even for the accident I had 20 years ago, it was $650,000 in repairs to my body. It's like, okay, tungsten shaft or whatever they put in to my leg so it wasn't in two pieces anymore. Recovery, PT.
But we don't
crazy.
see that. And I think that's the thing is like when people say, oh, doctors are overbilling, it's a game we play with the insurance. We don't
absolutely.
see any of that. And this is where I advocate, and I think I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. The health insurance issue in this country is only going to get worse. And the reason why is because it's becoming so much more expensive. And when it becomes more expensive, more people drop their insurance. And when more people drop their insurance, they have to raise the rates for everyone that's still on the insurance in order to maintain their profits. And what's happening is we see this all the time. I don't take insurance, right? People come in with Medicare Advantage that have a hearing aid discount plan under capitation with Hear USA or wherever. And I tell them a lot of times it's less expensive to pay cash with me than it is to maybe use your insurance. That is a mind-blowing concept to a lot of people if you're not in the medical field.
It's like
and I always tell that if you call for an MRI and you say, how much is it through my insurance or how much is it cash? It's
$5,000.
cheaper to pay cash.
Yeah.
And
I
so
can get an MRI done for like
a couple $100.
$100. An X-ray is like maybe $25 sometimes.
So it's really
insane.
It's cheaper, but it's creating a bigger problem. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not heavily involved in the insurance world, especially someone who doesn't bill insurance.
Like
it's coming.
Yeah.
My solution, or what I think, and once I dive into this further, once I do immerse myself in this world, I could find out I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think that insurance companies should be publicly traded entities. I don't think that they should be beholden to shareholder profits.
They tell us that's how they keep them affordable because it's an open market.
No, it's not, because isn't it something like 70% of United stuff is administrative overhead costs?
Something like that, yeah.
I'll give you an example of what I do know from the audiology world, okay? So we all have to sign agreements that say we will not violate Medicare's Fraud, Waste, and Abuse Act, which means we're not going to overbill. We're not going to do unnecessary procedures to a patient. We're not going to do all these things. But when we were taking insurances on these Medicare Advantage plans, they would pay us a nominal fee below operating costs, actually, to fit a hearing aid. So it wasn't covering my overhead. We were actually losing money participating in the plans, right? But if a patient had that plan and we were contracted with that plan, we weren't allowed to flip the patient off of that plan. That's why we left, because if we were contracted, we weren't allowed to offer them a cash option.
Gotcha.
So we left. But when we were on that plan, let's say they would cover some of the hearing aids and they would cover 3 office visits within the first year, and then that was it. Some of these Medicare Advantage plans had renewable benefits annually. Nobody needs a hearing aid every single year. Your hearing aid should last you 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. What was happening was we weren't allowed to bill the patient after those visits, so they would order new pairs of hearing aids every single year for the patient to restart the clock. That's waste. That's, in my opinion, a violation of fraud, waste, and abuse. Sure. And depending on the plan, I'm not going to say who the plan was, but they would start calling patients at 11 months and make them appointments in new offices with other providers just so they can, on exactly 12 months, get them a new hearing aid. And then they would bill the government for it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think we're seeing, United Healthcare is under a big federal microscope right now. I think they'll all be under a federal microscope, and they should be. Yeah. But the problem is not the physicians. The problem is the insurance company. 100%.
That's crazy. We're going to take a quick break for promotional material. So today's episode is brought to you by The Angelus. The Angelus is a place where people could truly live out their best life. If you haven't seen this place or heard about it, visit theangelus.com. That's theangelus.com. They are a home for adults with disabilities. Every resident, all 26 of them here, require 24-hour care. They need you. They need your volunteer hours. They need you to come out to their events. Check out what they're doing on their Facebook and check out their website, theangelus.com. Again, that's theangelus.com.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What do you love and what do you hate about owning your own business?
That's great. That's a great question. What do I love? The freedom. So
100%.
So like a good chunk of the last time I worked in corporate America was for medium box retail. Everybody knows I worked for Sleep Number for a long time. During that time, I had opportunities to run a couple of different stores for a few months at a time, and then I did some training programs for their system, and that was a lot of fun. I got to travel up and down the coast a little bit and help train, right? That was where I really fell in. Not love is not the right thing, but helping other people reach their maximum potential, right? So like the training and sales aspect of it. You said something earlier about working for somebody that you really learned how you didn't want to do something.
Yeah.
Right? Many moons ago, I was still maybe 20 tops. I worked for a very small independent cell phone company way back before we had smartphones. And there was a guy that was at the top, and he was the worst human I've ever met. Mm-hmm. Like it was the scummiest of things he'd want you to say to people. And we're talking about cell phones. We're not even talking about cars or anything like that. We're talking about selling, adding lines to old ladies that they'll never know they had the line. And you take the phone and you would put a loaner phone on it. Like it was scummy, really bad stuff. Mm. And ultimately I got into it with him in a meeting and got fired basically immediately because of it. Because I found out at the time, which I had this deep sense of moral obligation to do the right thing. And sidebar to that, now you and I we're not friends, right? But I don't call
know each other well.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So we've been on this incredible journey this year where we become, saved and born again Christian, and that was not something that was ever in my life before. When you knew me and you saw me weekly, I was not that guy. Mm-hmm. I was not this. How do I say it? I've said it many times. The only way I can say it is I feel truly transformed by this experience that we've had. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's been an incredible journey looking back at my life. It's not what I'm seeing coming to me. It's everything that I've been through, all of the hardship and the issues and like butting heads with people in corporate America over things that I thought were wrong. To me, that was, I never had an explanation for it now. And to where now it's like, well, you've been filled with the Spirit of Christ, and you should have been doing this a long time already, been helping people from the perspective of do unto others. You know what I'm saying? And I've never been in a position in sales where I have let myself get into where I was doing something that I thought was immoral or unethical. And that has cost me jobs and promotions and opportunities that most salespeople would have taken. I just never took them. And I had no explanation for it other than I was a good person. And now I truly believe it's because I was so fortunate in so many ways. I should have died in my motorcycle accident. There's no explanation to that. I mean, when I got in the accident, two miraculous things happened. Three. I didn't die immediately. I didn't sever my femoral artery at all. There was somebody that we knew, like a very close friend of ours at the time, was in her car in the intersection and saw me get hit. My phone was obliterated. My wedding ring is made out of tungsten, which you cannot cut off. You had to cut your finger off, basically. So the first thing I did, realizing that my hand was broken, I took my ring off. I gave it to her. Name is Angela. I gave it to her, and then 30 seconds later, a firefighter who was just going home for the night, his name is Chris, was there. So they kept me basically immobile until the helicopter got there. None of that normally happens in a motorcycle accident. Nobody cares. I've seen people people drove by me, right? And then that's all the bad things that have happened to us too. And then this is probably answering your question.
No.
You know, when Miranda and I got married, we decided we want to have kids. We couldn't have kids for a while. It was really tough. And then we finally got pregnant with Leo, who's now going to be 18 in a couple of weeks, which is nutty to me. After we had Leo, he was two and a half. We owned a very small boutique. We sold baby items, and Miranda was pregnant at the time, and our son died. Miranda lost him. We lost him during birth. So it was really tough. Like, that was really. A couple weeks ago, I was asked a question: what's the worst day of your life? And that's by far the worst. Not the accident, not my dad dying, none of that. It's losing a child.
Yeah.
Like, because you lose the hope of future. Like, you lose that. And that's always. There will never be a day that I can think of that will be worse than that day. But you never know, right?
Yeah.
And then getting pregnant again was always when we had Ollie and when we had Lily, it was very stressful those times. And now, we're obviously we're not having any more kids because Ollie's 13 and Lily's going to be 11 here soon. But like, I miss so much of their lives because I was working, right? We had our own business. We closed it. We lost all of our money. We opened another business. I sold it for a little bit of money, went back into corporate America and did all these things. COVID happens and blah, 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 And then, like, when we decided when I left where I was, when last October or whatever it was, I wanted to do this for fun, have podcasts and do this kind of stuff. And then people started calling me, hey, will you produce my show? Will you help me do this? Will you help me do that? And I've had the fortunate, I've been fortunate to be able to do that on a small occasion. But really what it turned into was people wanted me to do their social media. Like, help me. What do you do? When I put the camera on myself, I'm being totally unserious about everything. So like, hey, help me produce content for my Facebook, or help me do this, or do you have ideas that we can use? And that really was something I did not expect whatsoever. And that's been really a lot of fun because I take all this experience I have with customer service, which is, if you really think about the sales experience I have, it was never about the sale. It was about helping somebody.
Yeah.
And I've been able and fortunate to apply that to other people's businesses and go, okay, well, this is what you're doing. This is how we should, if your brand story is this, let's do this, And that's been a lot of fun. And it is the freedom. The worst part about it is the freedom, right? So, like, you're free to do what you want.
What do you mean?
Well, you can do what you want, right?
Yeah.
But that also means, like, sometimes you can just doom scroll for a couple hours.
Oh, keeping yourself on task.
Right. I have a problem with that in general. I'm a scroll brain. Like, I have a general idea of what I want to do, and then when I'm in the moment of doing it, I forget about everything else that I have to do, and then I get get this rush of dopamine.
Yes.
And then it drops.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what am I doing now? So today I'm pretty busy. After we do this, I have a couple things I got to do, and I know I have to go and do these things, right?
Yeah.
But also I'm like, do I really want to go and do that? So yeah, and also I'm not at a point where we're completely stable with it all the time. So it's like sometimes we have 5 clients that come on a month, sometimes we have none. So it's like you burn through your savings pretty quick,
Yeah.
So That would be me. How about you?
As far as what I love,
Yeah.
I did not like making money for other people. So I feel like
Well, that
working
too,
for
obviously,
myself,
yeah.
my wins are my wins, my losses are my losses. I enjoy the freedom and autonomy to be the decision maker and do what I want.
Yeah.
And I think the problem of, I didn't thrive in corporate settings because it's not that I have an issue with hearing the word no. I don't like hearing no without a reason
You gotta tell
why.
me. Yeah.
You just tell me why. Why can't we try this or do this? And the larger the organization, your walls start closing in on you. I don't do well with that.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
need complete freedom and flexibility to make decisions.
Well, part of the reason I left, so I was when you met me, I was working for a medium-sized roofing company here, and then I left there because they were literally showing up to my appointments. I would go to a house to meet with a client, and after 4 or 5 minutes being there, we get a knock on the door, and it was somebody that was supposed to have been a supervisor. And they were like, "Oh, we're just in the neighborhood, wanted to come see how you guys were doing." And what they were doing was checking up on
what was
whether or
going
not I
on.
was following the system they had, which I thought was stupid. Like, it didn't matter that I had 20 years of experience. What mattered was I wasn't adhering to their process.
Yes.
So your process doesn't work in practice at all because I'm not a robot, and I'm never going to say these words. Like it's so stupid.
The scripts and
there's a guy out there. His name is Rodney Webb. He sold the system to a big conglomerate called Owens Corning probably 15 years ago. His claim to fame was he took Atlanta-based exterior company and turned it from 1 million to 20 million in the course of 5 years, and he claimed that he did it with this process called the Rodney Webb system. Rodney Webb's real claim to fame was he was a professional football player for a number of years, never big, but made enough money to do basically whatever he wanted. And this system was designed in these 14 or 15 steps, and one of the stupidest things were like, not before you even asked any real good questions, they wanted you to say like, what, my name is X and I'm here to do this. What brings us out today? And then how long have you been thinking about doing your project? Which are not bad questions, but it's not something you open the door and you bombard people with questions. That's not how you do stuff in home sales, right? So anyway, that went on for about 2 years. So I finally, 2.5 years, and I finally broke. And I'm like, we mutually agree this is not a great fit anymore. And then I went to work for a different roofing industry, complete autonomy. Nobody bothered me whatsoever. And they got new leadership there. And my first comment to this guy was, "Don't bother me. I am a professional. I know what I'm doing. Please don't call me and ask me what I'm doing."
Yeah.
What do you think they started doing?
Well, that's that, and that's why.
And we're talking
you don't. Yeah.
$1.5 million in sales in like 7 months.
Yeah.
I was killing it, right? Stop calling me and ask me what I'm doing.
Yeah. For me, when I was in New York and I had that really bad experience with that boss.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most valuable experiences are the ones where they were negative and you learned what you didn't want to be.
Failure and that kind of stuff are our best teachers.
Yes. And long story short, this guy tried to fail me 6 weeks before my graduation. I had gone at this point basically through 8 years of school. He had lost, I think, 7 of his 10 employees in the year that I was there, which is a sign of poor management and leadership. But he couldn't find audiologists that wanted to work for him anymore. And so he started training a lot of his front desk people to become dispensers. And tragically, one of the women's husbands passed away. And I had already had time off approved. I was going to DC for a job interview, but I wasn't going to tell them that. I just had time off.
Vacation.
And obviously she couldn't be at work anymore. So they told me PTO is canceled. You have to work. I came forward and said, just told them what it was. I was like, I have to be there. It's not that I'm not sympathetic to this situation. I understand. I can cut my time short. I can come back, but I'm not going to be here at the end of this year-long residency. So I need to do this. And he was a licensed audiologist. He just thought patient care was beneath him. He was too good to see patients. He could have covered that clinic. He could have covered my clinic. And so he said, well, if you're not committed to your time here, I have no choice but to call your university and let them know. So they threatened to call my program director.
Bombard you and kamikaze your career.
Yeah. So I called my program director.
That's a real dick move.
Hyperventilating, crying, breaking out. I thought the last 8 years of my life was over. She calmed me down and she just said, you can't be nationally ranked as this great provider and get glowing reviews to the point where he wanted to offer you a job. There was a lot of animosity because he wanted me to continue to stay working for him, and I didn't want to.
Right.
So that started to be it just became the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Where he knew I wasn't going to stay.
He was going to make it difficult.
He was going to make it difficult for me to go. Yeah. And
I've been in places like that.
It ended up when I called my program director, she handled it amazingly. She's like, we can't do anything if he fails you, but we'll give you some like nonsense remediation to say that we corrected it. You're still going to graduate. Don't worry about it. It's fine. He passed me, but he passed me with the lowest possible grade he could have passed me with. And that was it. That was the end of it. But I learned what kind of boss I didn't want to be. And even now, like the girls that work for me, you know, nothing is beneath me. I'll do anything. I'll sit at the front, I'll answer phones. I'm not great at the front anymore because they've developed their own processes. And that's what I've always said to them. I said, look, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. If you guys think there's a way that something could be more efficient, do it. We'll try it. If it doesn't work, we'll go back the other way. But the girls that work for me have like really transformed the front desk, which anybody who doesn't appreciate their front desk staff is, I just have no respect for that. They are the backbone of any practice. And so they have their processes and the ways of doing things. And now, you know, they run the show and I let them do whatever it is that they need to. But I'm very hands off. You know, I have the ideas, I'll try stuff. But when you work for large corporations, for me, it's not a fit for me. It just doesn't work well.
You get to be a part of the machine, which I don't want to do. Which is like, even now, what I'm doing in addition to this is standalone work. Like it's all me doing what I need to do to make, you know, like make it work. You know,
but it's tough, but it's fun. And going back to the point about adversity, I've had a lot of conversations about this. So I'm a big advocate of mental health, and I see a therapist. I see her once a month now just to kind of check in. But I straight up asked her one day, I was like, how did I, with all of, unfortunately, the negative things that have happened to me in my life, you know, why didn't I end up on drugs? Why was I successful as opposed to going complete opposite direction?
Yeah.
And there's a concept called having a level 3 trauma response. I don't know how many levels there are, but basically successful people, something bad has happened to them most of the time. And you need just enough adversity to say, I don't want to live like this, but not enough that it cripples and paralyzes you. Yeah. And so I somehow fell into that sweet spot.
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot. And one of the things I worry about is I don't have kids yet, God willing, hopefully one day. My kids aren't going to know struggle. And I don't know that that's a good thing.
It's not. No.
It's not. Like they're not going to have the same problems that I have. And I think about people that are successful and people that I know that are money obsessed.
Right.
They all came from some sort of bad background. And I've been there where I could I could definitely increase my lifestyle, but once you have money, you have a real fear of losing money.
Sure.
And so you kind of go in all these different directions. I think the biggest thing is there's a very fine line, and not a lot of people find it, of I pulled myself out of the situation. I'm successful.
Yeah.
When is enough, and not move the goalposts?
We talked about that right before the show, is like these ebb and flows of business, right?
Yeah.
Like right now, our business, you know, I always say this, I'd love to have 2 more clients every single month. I can only maintain, it's just me and my wife. So it's like, we can only maintain so many a month.
Right.
Well, we've lost all but 1 client in the last 2 months because marketing is always the first thing people flush
we'll cut from the budget.
There's like, nope, we didn't, you know, we know July and August are going to be, June, July, and August are our slowest times. And we primarily deal with tradesmen, trade companies, right? So it's like, nope, we don't have the budget for that, you know, for the next 2 months. We know we're going to be slow because it's a slow time of the year. And I'm going, this is the time when you want to spend money to get more whatever. So we're in that cycle now where it's like, okay, let's be conservative in doing this as opposed to going here for vacation over the summer. Let's do this because we're still in the infancy of our, you know, we've been open since November, basically, you know?
I'll tell you something that somebody told me, and this every single year has been true. When you look at your calendar year, you're going to have 3 months that are phenomenal.
Yeah.
You're going to have 3 months where you're panicking because they're really, really bad.
Yeah.
And you're going to have 6 months that are average.
Yep.
And so whenever I'm in a slump, and we talked about this before we turned the cameras on. There's months I've lost $30,000 in a month, $40,000 in a month, and then I've been really high up. But it is cyclical.
Yeah.
So anytime you're down, just tell yourself I'm in one of my 3 months. I'm in one of my bad 3 months.
We go, it's just, it's a season of business, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, and I've blessed with a lot more opportunities to do other things when I'm not doing this. I sometimes I wonder how we get some things done, because I went back to take a regular job. I'm back in roofing again, and doing marketing and sales for them. So it's a little bit of both of what I'm doing. It's a big company. They're all across the state. Shout out J&M Roofing. And it's great. I'm completely, for the most part, responsible for what I'm doing. So I get my own leads for the most part. They send me some stuff, but like I work, right? And I do what I do best, which is really service. I'm the guy that's not going to sell you a roof if you don't need it. Like, I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z if you don't
Isn't
need
it sad that that's the bar, the standard?
That's it.
No, we see it in our industry too.
They show up.
Yeah.
You call somebody in the trades, and it's like a 50-50 chance if they show up to your house on time.
You wouldn't believe the number of people that I do corrective fittings on. The amount of people you have an active healthcare license with the Florida Department of Health and can't do a hearing test.
Right.
Shocking number. And what's happening is they're doing the hearing test poorly. They're making referrals to ENT offices, which thank God they're making the referral. We'd rather see them than not.
Right.
But what ends up happening is the ENT sees them. They know that the test is wrong. I know that the test is wrong. And then I have to go in and correct the test, because if I don't, this patient's going to get unnecessary procedures performed on them.
Sure.
Like, if you only could look at that exam and have to make a split-second decision, which thank God that's not the case, but if you were, there's a lot of people that would be in a lot of trouble.
Sure.
And the amount of fixing that we have to do just of people that have a license to treat hearing loss that do not know how to perform a hearing exam is astounding. Yeah. And people will come in, and I do a fair amount of my business actually is second opinion fittings. I do a lot of fixing.
That's like one of the things I see primarily so far anyway, is there's a couple of buckets people fall into when they own a business. Like, you're either a really good operator, in other words, like how to function in your business, you can cross the T's, dot the I's, do all those things, but you have no service, you don't know how to,
no people skills,
you don't know how to sell or whatever it is. And sometimes you sell based off the fact that you're really good at process. I'm not that guy. If you need a sales guy that tells you from A to Z how it's going to happen, I'm never going to be that guy. And I appreciate that about some people. Like I'm not going to mention the name, but we know somebody mutually that has a business that is based on extremely analytical data on why we're doing certain things, right? Which, great dude, great company, fantastic at what they do. Does not compute.
Yeah.
And they do very well. They're very, they do very well. And I have another friend of ours that is like all over the place and still does very well. So it just depends on where you're at personality wise, but like having systems in place or whatever it might be is so incredibly important.
I think you have to know yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't.
Well, and that's like, even for me, like I turn down clients that I know are type A. Like if I say, okay, we have our initial conversation, these are the areas that you're asking for help with, I'm going to document what you're asking me for. And some of these people will say, hey man, yeah, I really like what you had to say, but I'm going to send you a 5-page expectation thing. So it'll be like, I think this is what we should do in phase whatever.
Yeah.
And that doesn't compute to me, because like,
but that's the beauty of working for yourself, is you get to choose your clients.
Well,
and that's I get to choose the patient groups that I work with.
I got to tell you. So I took a client on back in February that I thought was going to be fantastic. They want to do this and they want to do that. And if you find my other page, you'll know who they are, but we're not going to mention the names because it involves whatever. But they were so demanding of my time for the value, the money in which they paid to have something done. They were like, when I tell you I got calls 3 or 4 times a day from this client to do what should have been a very simple task. And I talking about learning lessons. Like I had to learn that even though I needed the money at the time. We were just starting, so it was like I was out there on a boat, on a life raft going, I need clients. We took this client on, and it turned out to be a complete and total. I got everything done that I was supposed to, but it was to the point where I was like, okay, I've already done everything you've asked for. I'm not doing any more. Stop asking me for more.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, you X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, well, this relationship is not going to work. I can't work with you anymore.
Yeah.
And like, I think about how many times I had to do that when I worked in corporate America, where I just had to put up with people that I could. And you know what it did? It sacrificed my quality of service.
And your quality of life. You don't need the stress.
Well, I tell you, like, I'm stressed now for other reasons.
Yeah.
But like, when I was working in both those places, I was like easy 35, 40 pounds heavier because I was stressed out about, like, I was eating like crap, first of all. I was eating on the road every single day.
Yeah.
I was stressed out that I wasn't going to do X, Y, and Z, and making money for other people for some reason in my mind never computed. And I knew I was only getting crumbs of what I was making.
But it's like, I'm a big advocate of entrepreneurship. Whenever if I'm talking to any of my friends and they're like, oh, I have this idea for this, I'm like, I'll help you. Let's start it up. Let's do this.
Yeah.
My mind is always running. But the majority of businesses fail.
Yeah.
What is it? 95% fail rate? Something like that?
I've had 3. Not that they've all failed.
Yeah.
I've exited them with making money out of them. With the exception of the baby boutique, we sold everything. I lost all of my life savings.
But I think
that was a reason. Obviously, we're not going back into the baby boutique after,
But anyway. I do think that it's not for everybody.
No, it's not.
Especially if there's no steady paycheck, right? Like people that have families and need steady paychecks, what I did was not a good move for those people. I just wasn't in that position.
I wake up terrified every single day. I really do. Like, we have 3 kids.
How do you handle your stress? What are you doing to manage stress?
I trust in God. I seriously do. Like, it sounds so like cliche, but like, it's like, okay, he is the provider. Not to get on the high horse about it, but he has been by our side in ways we didn't understand. And then, like, even now, it's like, okay, there's there's Jehovah Jireh who always provides for your needs, and you're like, okay, this is like, I'm not asking for a lot, but I'm asking to make sure we can do this,
Yeah.
Or like, when I don't feel good, it's like I there is something to it, whether anybody believes it or not. Praying really does work. Whatever you want to pray to, knock yourself out. But I think for me, it works tremendously. And like, part of my stress prior was always feeling like I had to carry all that weight myself, and truly believing it. I was to the 20th degree of being certain that our life was over when our eyes closed. Like, I was like, this is it. Like, all that mumbo jumbo for me was crazy. Like, people believing that there was a second, I just didn't believe any of that. And then, like, literally one day, it was just like, hey, stupid, listen up, right? And this was before I left my companies or did anything. It was just like, hey, there's probably something here. And then there was a whole catalyst to this where I had my 2 best friends in the entire planet had the same awakening at exactly the same time. We were all, my one friend's very Jewish. My other friend's also a non-believer. And then we were just like, we had a conversation separate about something. And they're like, we're in the New Testament now. And I'm like, oh my God, I just started. And it's a crazy thing. It's almost exactly a year ago. But for me, like, this phase in my life has been very much like thoughtful consideration, working through the process, knowing that no matter what happens, I am going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. Like, everything is going to turn out the way that it's supposed to, and I will be okay. My family will be okay. My kids will be okay. We will be okay. You just have to embrace the fact that, like, one thing they say as a new believer is that God's going to remove all the things that you don't need. He's going to take the people away that you don't want to be around. He's going to take away the influences you don't want to see. He's going to take away the things in your life that are causing distractions and causing you not to do the right things. And I will tell you that I had a lot of that baggage, right? Whether that was going out instead of spending time with my family, or you name it. Like, we were a part of one of those crews where we would spend the first part of the year, every weekend we were out, like, on a parade route and, like, putting our kids with, like, all of those things are like, I was never a big partier. I'm not that guy, but like, I don't know, just not staying focused on the right kinds of things. I had a lot of that distraction.
Yeah.
And like in this last year, a lot of those distractions have been moved from my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even to like the music we listen to or the things we're doing or the words that I say or how I talk to my kids. I will tell you that when we lost Jameson, it made me a different father. And then when we found Christ, it made me a whole different father. Just like a whole different... In a way, I wish you knew me a lot more than you did in the brief time that we interacted, because like Joelle, she's like, I would never
see a change in you.
I would have never. She goes, the guy that you were when I first met you, it's like you're a completely different person. He goes, physically you transform, mentally you transform. Everything is different about you. Mm-hmm. So you're not even the same person anymore, which is what they say happens to you.
Yeah, I think.
So for me, that's been my big thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people, when we were talking about just not knowing yourself and how important that is, so you can double down on the things that you're good at and then delegate or remove the things that are a distraction or not good for you. But one thing I've noticed, and I had this conversation with somebody on Thursday, we were talking about my horrible experience as a resident. Mm-hmm. This person is now significantly older in life and won't get rid of their business. And I said it's because he has nothing.
Yeah.
He's ruined all of his relationships and he has nothing to hold on to except his business, and he's 78 and won't retire.
So this is what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Right. So what is life for you outside of you're phenomenal. Like,
thank you.
You're no, like to have your business, to be successful like you are, to have a very clear path for like you think your next big step might be in the helping to reform, which is
a little ambitious.
I will never do anything. I will never make an impact like that. I might make my impact in my words or my testimony or my story or like we put on. I
don't think that makes me more impacttul than you. I don't think you should sell yourself short in that regard.
I'm just trying to be of service. So like that, like we had a. Back to this journey we're on. I had this calling to host a Christian festival. We did it here. We had, a few hundred people came. We had vendors. We had 10 different artists that came out and played music, and it was fantastic. We did it in 3 months. I don't know how we did it, and like my only hope was we filled the place, which we didn't accomplish. But the people that were there, I was standing on the stage at the end of the night with the last performer of the night. I looked out, and there were probably 20 people out there, and half of them were having this whole revival experience. And I just kind of said to myself, I said, hey, we did it. And I was talking to the big guys, and we did what I thought we could do, which was impact one life. You know? So like that's enough for me. If I can impact one person's life with my testimony, my story, or what we're doing now, you coming and doing something medically, I think that would be fantastic. But my question is like, what else?
Oh, like life outside of work?
Yeah, like life outside of work. What, like you don't want, I don't think you want your legacy to be,
no,
these are the things that I did.
I don't think my legacy would just be work. I think I would like to make change that impacts people, whether that's through healthcare reform or advocacy. And I'd have the opportunity and know the right people to put me in that. Yeah. But my passions, I love to travel. Yeah. I want to get to the point where work is optional and I'm working for fun. Yeah. Where I'm doing something that I enjoy. I've gotten really good at saying no lately, which is new for me. I like to joke that I'm in people-pleasing recovery. Like I a lot of times used to say yes to things because I had a hard time setting boundaries and I felt obligated or that I had a responsibility. And now and you can call it selfish, but I don't do things that I don't want to do anymore. And I'm happier for it.
I've always been like that.
This is new for me.
Unless it was for money. My wife hates it because she's like, you're so stubborn. I'm like, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I've actually really embraced that and I enjoy it. So I just want to do things that make me happy now.
But now I'm in the yes phase. But you know what the best part is? I don't find myself getting asked to do things that I wouldn't want to do. It's weird.
Yeah.
People are asking me to do things that I would say yes to. Even if I I don't want to do that. And I'll say, like, we volunteer here. We're here like a lot. Mm-hmm. I know all the residents, like we spend time here, we spend quality time,
right?
Or like we donate, we went to do other stuff, and it's like the things that I would have said no to, I'm saying yes to, which is crazy again to me. And you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to be, like you said, a people pleaser in recovery.
No, yeah. I mean, I think for me, I'm a bit of a paradox, because I think the people that know me and the people that work for me or my patients will see a really sweet side of me.
Yeah.
And I like to think that's who I am at my core. But the people who know me within the audiology world know me as one to kind of ruffle feathers a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's all right.
And I think we need both, right? You know, I need the sweet part that's advocating on behalf of patients.
Yeah.
But I'm also the first person to call out an executive of a company on TikTok or an insurance company, or like really poke the bear on things that maybe I shouldn't.
You know, I a baby and all this whole thing again, but like for me, I never wanted to do things I didn't want to do, and I don't compromise. I have a problem with that. But when Jesus decided he wanted to make changes, he wasn't quiet about it. He went and flipped tables over. Like he went to the synagogues, flipped tables, and said, basically, you're blasphemers. You don't know what you're talking about. And like that's the spirit of a lot of people, is like unwillingness to be compromised to your ethics, your moral code, or whatever you want to call it. And that's probably like a lot of what you do too, is like you want to be sweet and all these things, but also have this side where it's like, I'm not going to be taken advantage of.
No, I mean, and we're very ethical, and a lot of people come in, and I've developed that reputation of being ethical. There's a lot of people that come in with hearing aids that are a year or two old, and they'll say they're just not working well, and I don't like them, and I don't want this, and they were fit by somebody else. They're lucky that they came into my office
as opposed to somewhere else.
Yeah, because somebody else would say, because I'll fix what they already have. Yeah. For a couple $100, somebody else is going to charge them thousands to sell them new ones, So we always fit what's best for the patient. Yeah. We don't do things. I mean, I don't know how much of this I should say publicly. We can always cut it after, but there's something that I do in my practice where I'm operating illegally. And I know. That is that as an audiologist, you are not supposed to provide free services, because it's not supposed to look like you are doing things for free for the purpose of selling hearing aids. Now, I'll tell you why, and I've already ratted on myself. I wrote a letter to Gus Belarakis. It was received. They know. I work with Bayonet Point. They don't have any audiologists in-house. I work with an ENT, and they service Medicaid. You can't send a Medicaid patient a bill, right? Florida, Texas, Louisiana, soon it'll be the whole country, is now a closed panel state, meaning that you cannot credential to be in network with commercial insurances. Point blank, period. They will give you the option to work for Medicare Advantage, but like I can't bill United Commercial or Blue Cross Commercial. So what happened was, when we opened the office, I paid somebody, it was like $3,500 or $3,800 to credential me on all these insurance contracts, and I got denied on every single plan. And so we were forced with the decision of, we have to bill everybody or bill nobody, because you have to maintain a standard of care. I see what these hearing tests look like coming out of Beltone and Miracle Ear and Hear USA and all these other places. I couldn't in good conscience not treat those patients. So I'm performing full diagnostic evaluations at no charge. People can come to my office. They will never get a bill. And some people think that's a scam when they first hear, oh, she's doing hearing tests for free. I would love to get paid for what I do. I can't. So it's either I'm going to bill everybody at somewhere between $175 and $250 for an appointment that people don't have, or we take care of the patient at no charge. I made the decision to treat people for free. Right. Yeah. But technically, that's a Medicare violation. Now, if anybody were to ever come for me, I would invite anybody to say, okay, what are you going to do? Sue me for giving free care to the poor? Right. Like, I don't think it would ever really become a thing. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm not supposed to do that. Yeah. But I do.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about other things? Like, you travel, right? Like,
I love to travel. I just got back from Spain and Portugal. That was a last minute trip. I don't have another one on the books. I'm very last minute with my planning. Typically what happens is I'll get a flight alert in my inbox. I pay $75 for one subscription, and I think like $100 for another one. And I will get text and email alerts on fare mistakes or whatever. Yeah. And I'll see a good deal and I'll book it. So I've hit 5 of the 7 continents. I'm missing Australia and Antarctica. I did get a good deal to Australia the other day, but I forgot to book it. I just got distracted. I've been saving Australia for a honeymoon.
Okay.
I'm not dating anybody, and I'm 35. So at this point, I might give up on the idea of a honeymoon and just go by myself, though, if I want to go.
You should wait. Make it something special.
Yeah. Dating is...
I couldn't imagine it.
Don't start over. I tell everyone, I go, listen, keep the one you got. It's rough out here. You don't want to start again.
I don't think we're going anywhere. It's not. No, I won't say that, and I've said this many times on this show. It has not been without trials. Like it is tough. I don't know anybody who's been of our friends that were married.
Yeah.
Our other friends that were married for as long as we were just got divorced last year.
How is working together? Because I will tell you, I'm very anti couples working together.
So, fine. So she stays out of the stuff that she knows she's not good at, and I stay out of the stuff that I know I'm not good at. So, like, my mind is creative and doing these things. And, like, if a client comes to me with something they want to do and I want to say this is what we should be doing, or if they want ideas on what they want to shoot, and I think it's maybe funny, or, like, Miranda almost always thinks that I'm not funny. So it's like, okay, well, it's probably really funny then, you know?
Yeah.
Or if it's really unique or different. Or, like, we just shot a trailer for a client, shout out Chelsea, happy birthday by the way, for her new book that just came out, called Kickflip My Heart. Obviously the book was her idea, but the whole trailer, I came up conceptually with the whole thing. It wound up being almost 2 minutes long, and we had a lot of fun shooting it. But Miranda's like, I don't even know where to start on that. She did some graphic stuff for her, so Miranda's good at doing like graphics and flyers and God, she can write a proposal. I can't do any of that, so it's not where my brain lives. So
yeah.
She's good at that kind of thing. But mostly we've been married so we've been together 24 years, 25 years. What year? 2002. What were we, 24 years. So we've been together our whole lives. And going back to what I was saying, there's been times in the last 2 years where we thought we were going to get divorced, because it was just like, I don't like the person you are. Something has to change. And again, going back to it, it's this whole Jesus thing has really been really helpful. So there's something to it, people.
Yeah.
But for us, it had been incredible, and like our relationship now is probably stronger than it has been in many, many years, especially. Like, I'm not saying we're doing great, because owning your business is crazy, but we're in a season where we could do better, and it's been really challenging in a lot of different ways. But we know that we're going to get through it, and just having faith in each other and having faith in the plan is that keeps us from arguing sometimes. But sometimes I say something stupid, or I get in a mood, or I get hangry, or whatever it might be. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
But you learn after that much time, you know what's coming. You wake up in the middle of the night in a panic, or that's like my thing is sometimes I wake up and I just can't go back to sleep. Either I'm thinking about a client, or I'm doing this, or I'm planning. Like, I have something on the back burner that I'm going to work on that I'm going to tell you about after the cameras are off. That is going to be really exciting for me. But it's been keeping me up at night.
Yeah.
Which is how I know it's a great idea.
Those are always the good ones.
But like, working together is fine. We don't have any problems. She's always been by me. We've always been a team. Even when I was working for other people, she was my person. I'd be like, hey, this is the situation I'm going through. And she would say, just stop what you're doing and think about this, and operate the way you want to do it. Like, don't just do it how you want to.
Right.
And that has not always been the best advice, but it's kept me sane.
I always was interested in that dynamic. I'm very against it. I'm glad it's working for you. I'll give you my perspective on why, like, I wouldn't do it personally. Because statistically, right, it's something like 56% of all marriages end in divorce.
Correct.
75% of marriages have some form of infidelity, whether it's physical or emotional cheating.
Yeah.
And less than 20% of spouses say that if they did it again, they would choose the same partner. And so for me, nothing is ever all going well at the same time. Like, if work's bad, home life would be good. And so when you're merging the two, it's like, at least if you're at work and work sucks, you have a little bit of a reprieve coming home, but or vice versa. But when you're working together, it has the potential for catastrophe. And so for me, I was like, oh, that's a dangerous game to play. Is it worth the risk?
This is something that I heard and I've been thinking about a lot, is that the first person that ever chose to love you is your spouse. Everybody else that you know.
Yeah, it's the only family member you get to choose. Yeah.
Everybody else, your friends might love you or whatever it might be, but it's not the same. It's the only person that ever chose to anchor themselves to you.
Yeah.
And walk with you through your path. Now, I will tell you that we are the anomaly. We're never going to get divorced. It's never going to happen. Like, I am not the guy who's going to go out and cheat on my wife. I've never been that guy, right? My wife is definitely not going to do that. She's not that kind of person. We are the anomaly. We know that we are. We know what the reasons that our friends got divorced were, and it's some of those reasons you already talked about. And we have done our best to avoid those situations. Now, sometimes life puts you in a situation where you're uncomfortable, and you do what you're going to do. You make it through and stay true to your spouse, and you will be fine in the end. It may be tough. You may you may say the wrong thing to the wrong person, or somebody catches feelings for you, or whatever it might, you know what I'm saying? Those things I think can happen. And I've seen that happen, not to us, but like to our friends, like I'm not going to air their laundry, but it's definitely what happens. And we've seen it, and we have, in a lot of ways, been fortunate enough to have close friends that were open and sharing those processes with us. So we avoided that. We took our commitment very seriously, because we've been together since she was 16 and I was 18. That's a long time. We've had our entire adulthood to get where we're at. Not easy. It's the single most difficult thing that I've done. But I will tell you, being a dad and having kids there is nothing that will ever top that, ever.
In that same vein, but like taking a negative turn, just on a realistic turn. I think, I've never been married, I don't know. But I can appreciate someone having a struggle and being able to work it out. And if you're able to work it out, you should work it out.
Yeah.
I'm the byproduct of the stay together for the kids. And I can tell you that ruins someone well into adulthood.
Yeah.
And we were talking about earlier therapy, and I was talking to my therapist about, and it's all cultural and it's all with the times, right? So like back then that was what we were supposed to do, stay together for the kids. Now we realize if that's not possible, the best thing that you can do, if after having tried to work it out, is get divorced, and get divorced quickly, and learn how to co-parent. Because one thing that she taught me and that I thought was super interesting was that your child's entire personality for how they date for the rest of their life is formed by the age of 7. And so if you are in a household where mom and dad don't love each other, and mom and dad can't get along, or they're not seeing that, like, it's not even just a matter of coexisting. Yeah. Like, if you don't love each other, your attachment style, whether it's avoidant, anxious, or secure, for the rest of your child's life, without having gone through intensive therapy to correct, is formed by the age of 7. So how much pressure that must be as a parent.
But here's the thing, is you don't think about that, right? Okay, so we have almost an adult.
No, you don't, but I do, because I'm that's always in the back of my head.
Like, people always say, I don't have enough money to have kids. I'm saying, have kids anyway. That's my advice. It is the single greatest thing that you will ever do in your life, in my humble opinion. Yeah. Is procreate and have children. However that happens.
For me, that's why I'm still single, because I said to myself, I was like, I'm not making smart choices. I'm not dating good people. Yeah. I'm not making the right decisions. And I was like, I will not put myself in a position to give my kids the father that I had. You know what I mean? So I was like,
you don't want them to have the kind of...
No, I would hate to marry somebody that, like, and be in a home that I grew up in. And so I think that's why it's like I've not settled down until I was able to work on myself more.
So I will tell you, we are not let's not fight in front of the children household. If my wife is upset with me, my kids know it. I will tell you, we're not sure how it's going to work out, but our oldest son is about to be 18. And the kind of father I was to him until he was about 10 is probably the second biggest regret of my life.
Why?
So I was stressed. I worked all the time. I was severely overweight. I didn't like the fact, like, so I was working for corporate America, and I was out of the house 65 hours a week. And then I was tired when I was home because I wasn't taking care of myself. I found it the other day on YouTube. There's a video of me on the news. Somebody came to interview the store I was at about what we were doing. And it was literally, not to make this about me, But I was probably like 265 pounds. Like that's a lot of weight to carry around on a frame that I'm on. And I could see I was pale. I didn't have any.
You didn't look healthy.
I looked like I was somebody who was at home eating a bag of potato chips and having ice cream every night, which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not. And at the time I'm like, I look. You know, I even thought of myself, I'm like, well, I'm inside. You know, I wear nice clothes. It's not a big deal. And there was so much stress in our life at that time. I was working so much. I had worked really hard to get where I was running a store in a premium part of Tampa. Like it was the best store you could run, and I had turned that store around by millions of dollars. Like I was really proud of my work accomplishments. And I was doing things like we would go to Disney every weekend when I had a weekend off. I had every other weekend off, so like once a month we were at Disney for 3 or 4 days at a time, and I was spending
a lot of money.
We spent like $10,000 in the course of 10 years on hotels. Okay, we were making good money, but the stress of that, and like even remembering being at Disney, it was supposed to be the happiest place on earth. I would always think about work or business or whatever it was, and we had fun and all this stuff, but like. There's a moment that I go back to, and I couldn't even tell you how old Leo was, and this was probably right when I started working. It might have been working for that company or not. I can't remember. Some of that time, he's like 7 or 8, and he used to love to wash the car with me. It was like his thing. We've been doing it since he was little. There's pictures of me and him back when I was just walking, not walking, but I just really started getting up and about, and we were barely making it, but. You know, we had kids, so it's like you got to do what you got to do. And he was outside. We had a truck at the time, and he's in a diaper, and he's helping me wash the truck, you know. And that had happened up until this point. And this particular instance, the car needed to be washed, and he said, "Daddy, can I come out with you?" I said, "Yeah." And it was to the point where he was old enough to where I thought he could handle things without me there with him. So he must have been 7 or 8. And knowing now that a 7 or 8-year-old is not capable of handling a complicated task like washing the car the correct way, I got really mad and I said that you're completely useless. Get out of here. Ugh. And I know that still stays with him because he will catch him every once in a while. He'll yell at his brother, "Hey, you're useless. Get out of here." And every time I hear it, I go back to that moment. And I know like and we're talking after we had lost Jameson, after we had more kids, and it was still a time where I was like really struggling with the work-life balance, and there's excuses. There's 100 of them, but what it turns out to be is like I was not really a good dad. I was still young enough to where I didn't have the coping skills that I have now.
Yeah.
And as Ollie, our second child, got older, I got a lot better at doing it, and then it took time, but I repaired my relationship with my oldest son, and I know, and my wife and I, we're not like cats and dogs fighting, don't get me wrong, but like sometimes I'll say some stupid stuff, and she'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, and we'll have it out a little bit, and I'll say, "Well, we shouldn't X, Y, and Z." And I do wonder, like, when he was that age, we were definitely fighting a lot, like all the time, where we just to the point where you don't like the person you're with anymore, so you have to make changes. Like, I think there's probably 3 times in our marriage where we have become different people, maybe even 4. You know, one, when you first get married, you're partying every weekend, you're doing this, you're doing that, and you don't have kids and you really want to have kids, and there's struggles there, and that you start questioning, well, what's the outcome here? If we can't have kids, what are we doing? That's a real conversation you have to have. It's like, okay, you can't, for some reason we're not getting pregnant. It's been 18 months, almost 2 years. Knowing that I got in this accident, we really want to have, like, that's our I was in our 20s. We want to have children, you know? We wanted to start early. We always knew that. And we can. And it's like, okay, what are we doing? Why are we still in this relationship? What's the outcome here? For some reason, we're incompatible to have children. And then you have, you know, your child.
Fertility stuff is tough. I mean, I froze my eggs.
Yeah.
I wanted to stop the clock, so I gave myself more time to find the right person, and I don't regret doing it. But I have a lot of friends, like, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the chemicals in our food and the stuff in the environment, but like everybody I know is having trouble getting pregnant. And I think it's all related to a lot of things.
We can
but
go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think that I've seen people who I thought had really, really strong marriages just completely fall apart when it comes to fertility stuff. That is the biggest strain on a marriage.
It was us, and then we got pregnant, and we went to testing and all that stuff, and there was no like, nobody could figure it out. And then
I can tell you what it was. Endometriosis. I guarantee you your wife has endometriosis. That's the number one cause of unexplained infertility. So I had it. It metastasizes like cancer, but it's not a cancer, but it's basically endometrial tissue that grows outside of the uterus where it's not supposed to be, and it can glue your organs together. It prevents your like an embryo from attaching. It's when they finally, it took me 10 doctors and 18 years to get diagnosed with endo. It's something that I do a fair amount of talking about. I've helped, I think it's 14 people now get diagnosed and have surgery for it, but it is a debilitating disease. When they did my surgery, I was in there for longer than they had anticipated. Thank God for my doctor. Every time I see him, I cry. I have like a real, I really do. I cry. I got yelled at last time they wheeled me into the OR because I was like, he saved my life. Literally, like not figuratively. Mm-hmm. I would have never been able to get pregnant because my endo was collapsing my fallopian tubes. I would have had an ectopic pregnancy if I was able to ever conceive. It was crushing my ureters that were connected to my kidneys. I would have ended up in eventual kidney failure. I had a precancerous endometrioma on one of my ovaries. There was so many. It's one of those things that it takes so long to get diagnosed, but usually if all the testing comes back positive or negative for everything else, a lot of people, it comes back positive for endometriosis.
Yeah.
1 in 10 women have it.
Well, maybe that's the case. But it felt like it took forever, and we, whatever. And then,
glad it worked out.
It did. Yeah. And then, we started a business, Leo was about, I don't know, he's probably 20 months old, somewhere around there. We started that baby boutique and she got pregnant again. And then we lose that baby. And, that was, it completely broke us.
Oh yeah.
Just completely different people after that. And then it takes years to find yourself again, years. And then I don't know if she agrees with it, but I feel like I had to find her completely over again, And then we had Ollie, and the relief of having a child after a stillbirth is, first of all, statistically, it's very improbable. Because
I did not know that.
It's very difficult. And Miranda had Jameson. We were supposed to have him at home, and it did not work out. There's a long story there, but long story short, fine for 1 hour, and then the next hour checkup, no heartbeat, no movement, nothing. He wound up having a detached placenta, which would have happened somewhere around 36 weeks. The last ultrasound you can get is usually 35 weeks. So she had an ultrasound completely fine, and then she cooked to 41 weeks. So he should have been like around 10 pounds. He was not. He had been dying for weeks. So nobody knew. And then he had what little cord he had wrapped. Miranda realized over the evening of labor that there was something wrong, and then we had a doula and a midwife, and the midwife had actually woken up to check, and she's like, okay, we need to go to the hospital. They confirmed that in fact he passed, he was already gone.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, we're going to cut you open, and she's like, you're not, we're going to still have this baby natural. So she went to Tampa, and we labored for 36 hours and had him naturally.
Ugh.
Which can cause a lot of issues. Anyway, it was terrible. And that was like the worst thing. My biggest regret in my life is I did not hold him. I chose
you just
not
couldn't
to.
do it.
I couldn't bring myself to it. I barely looked at him. It's only in the last couple of years I've looked at the photos. So I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So anyway, I didn't shoot the one photo she has with him. I'm not looking at her, and it's with my old iPhone. So it's like really shitty. And I also, that is part of the regret, obviously, is not being strong enough to have the mental maturity to handle that situation, because you don't ever think it's going to happen to you.
Yeah, but I don't think you were doing the best that you could at the time under really severe circumstances. It's easy to look back now and like question things, but when you did what you could.
Yeah.
At that time.
Well, anyway, that was a long process to get back to where, we moved out of our house. We moved into my in-laws. I had to go back to the house and clear out all the baby stuff.
Oh.
we wound up living back there for a few months, and we couldn't do it. So we rented the house out to some friends. We moved into my parents' house. My father had died and left the house to my mother. And we moved in there and tried to rebuild our life again. Because not only did we lose our son, we lost all of our life savings in the business. We sold it all. So we cashed out.
Yeah.
We didn't make any of our money back at all. We wound up losing 10, 20,000, whatever. It doesn't even matter at this point.
Yeah.
And it took a while. And then part of that, our healing process was my mom stayed in the house until she moved out. And like there was a little bit of a toxic relationship there with all of us being in one roof. It was not a good situation.
Yeah.
And it took a while. And then Miranda got pregnant again. And my mom moved into her apartment. And we stayed there because we owned the house. And we sold our other house after our friends had trashed it, completely wrecked it. So we sold it for like $5,000 more than we paid for it.
No.
Yeah. So when our story is full of missteps,
trials and tribulations,
and like finding it, going back to our point, finding each other in different seasons of our lives over and over and over again. And there's a lot of grace on Miranda's part because I was not always easy to deal with. I know that. Everybody, again, who really knows me well, in the last 2 years, my life has just been completely changed, just completely transformed. So I attribute that to the big guy upstairs. I think that I was chosen and that I was a long time ago put here to do something greater than what I have been doing. And part of that is, being as good of a husband as I can be, being as good of a father as I can be. I'm not perfect. There's only been one perfect guy ever, and I'm not him. So I do the best I can every day to be as perfect as I can. And I usually fail every single day, but I love it. Being married is not for everybody. I get it. Not everybody wants to have somebody wants to have a long-term, relationship or whatever it is.
I think it's beautiful.
Well, it's okay. She tolerates me pretty well. So, but yeah, and I admire you in the sense to have that self-knowledge and to know that you grew up in a situation where you didn't want to cause more damage to another human.
No, I took it up. I'm breaking the cycle, we'll say. But like that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the work. But I also, you get set in your ways of like what you want, what you don't want, what you'll tolerate, what you won't tolerate. And I think the more that I get to know myself, the less tolerance I have for the red flags, right, that I previously might have overlooked in other people. And I don't say that disparagingly. Like I would never say anything bad about somebody that I've dated. I just think that's in poor taste, but also a bad reflection of me. I don't think that they were bad people. They just weren't my people. Right. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is how much time I wasted in situations that don't suit me, whether it's romantic relationships, jobs, friendships, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm learning now that I used to stay in situations longer than I should have because I don't want to feel like I wasted time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try and repair and fix and fix and fix and fix and fix.
You can't fix.
And you can't. All it ends up doing is you're just wasting more time.
Yeah.
So I think now, going back to like tying it into working for myself, I value my time more than anything. And I love to travel and hang out with my friends and do things that make me happy. But I'm only able to do that when I step back and say life is not all about work, because it used to be in the back of my head every single day that I'm out of the office, the overhead doesn't stop. So now it's the cost of the vacation plus the cost of the overhead. I mean, our overhead is over $300 an hour. That doesn't mean I make $300 an hour. That's the cost of running our business. So I constantly think about that when I'm gone, or I used to. And now I'm like, no, because I can always make more money. I can't buy more time.
Right.
I'm never going to get that time back.
Yeah.
And I think another blessing that I've had is working with the elderly. And I see a lot of people that said they were going to wait to travel or do things they wanted to do until they were retired. And then a spouse gets sick or they get sick or they don't have the money or they don't have this. I've really made a conscious effort to live life while I have the ability to live my life.
That's kind of like the end goal here is to, for me to be able to, I have freedom now. I just don't have the funds to always do what we want to do. Right. So like we had this big summer trip planned. Well, we dropped 6 clients and you're not going on the summer trip. You're going to make it through the summer and hope that August, September, October, November, December pick up. Right. So our big vacation, it's not even a vacation. We're going to Wiki Watchy over the weekend. The kids love going there. It's nice and cool, and you get to sing whatever. We were going to go to DC and go to PA and do all these things this summer. It just never happened. And I probably harder on myself because don't care. They don't really care what we're doing. They just want to be,
They don't care.
They don't care.
They really don't care.
And especially like we're like, it's the last year that we'll have with Leo before he's an adult. And the reality of it is like there's like this big trend that's like you only get 18 summers with your kid. It's probably not going to happen. I'm probably going to get 35 to 40 years of summers with him. He as he gets older, he begrudgingly does more stuff with us. Even than when he was like 14 or 15, he didn't want to go and do things. Well, now he'll be like, okay, I'll come with you. If it's only going to be a couple hours, we'll go and do this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I know as an adult, he's going to be like, he's a mama's boy anyway. So
I saw something that talks about kids that go through their teenage phase and kind of the teenage rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And they're supposed to.
Yeah, you have to.
Biologically, it's hardwired into us.
Yeah.
Back from tribal instincts.
Yeah.
Was that it's inherently in our nature for teenagers to not get along with their parents because thousands and thousands of years ago,
they got to find their own cave.
Yes, because you didn't want to have inbreeding.
Yeah.
So it's like you needed to hate your parents, so you went and left the nest and did your own thing so you could start your own family. It's genetically hardwired into us.
Yeah.
And so they come back eventually.
Yeah,
you know?
it'll be fine. So. Anyway, I think we've gone quite a while. This was fantastic. I had a good
time. I feel like I got to know you a lot more today.
There's a lot. I'm like an onion. I've got layers.
Layers.
Just like Shrek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was apprehensive about starting up another season because it takes a lot of. As much as I like to make fun of like the fact that I don't think about a whole lot, I'm always like last night. I'm like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? And I know that I'm going to be fine. You know, I know it'll be fine.
Well, that's what I told you when you were like, "Oh, do you anything you want to talk about?" And I was like, "No, let's just let the conversation flow."
Yeah. So that's usually the best. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and plug your whole business? Tell everybody where you're at, how they can find you, your Insta hands or whatever you got.
So I am at Florida Audiology Associates. We're located on 5A Road in Scott Medical Plaza, next to Bayonet Point Hospital. We do hearing aid evaluations, hearing tests, second opinion reprogramming if you already have hearing aids. You can find me over there, Florida Audiology Associates, on all of our social handles. I think Instagram might be FL Audiology Associates, I'm sure. And then it's Florida Audiology Associates on Facebook. So come see me.
Awesome. Okay, well, yeah, if you want an expert in the field and you are like me and you can't hear things, go see Leigh.
That's what you should do. You should come, get
like
a hearing test.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll record the whole thing and put it on social.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that I can be confirmed that I have selective hearing just like you did for Johnny.
Yeah, you might be in more trouble. Yeah, that's what happened with Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I literally have, consistent ringing in your ear is a problem.
Unless you do have wax impactions will cause tinnitus, in which case I'll clean you out.
Oh, that'd be great. I like those videos where you like, I've had impacted wax before. I got it out.
Oh, you have?
I've got one of those little things. You probably hate it, but I've got one of the ones. I bought it for like $10 on Amazon.
Quick side story before we...
Okay, well, here we go.
Close. P.S. The ear candling is the one that gets me. We had a patient... Well, first of all, it's fake. The stuff that burns is just the wax on the cone, on the paper. There's no earwax that comes out. What people do before and after candlings, and their ears are just as clogged. But when I was at my old group, we had a patient that dripped hot wax through her eardrum, glued her ossicles together, and is permanently deaf. No ear candling.
I've done it once or twice.
Don't tell me.
Did nothing.
Yeah.
Really
I will come see you. We do ear cleanings too. Come see me over there.
I think you should do a whole YouTube series or whatever, TikTok, Facebook, on just cleaning out.
Do you know what I want to do for a YouTube series? I joke about it that I want to do something called Audiology Ambush because I'm constantly looking at people's ears and seeing their hearing aids. It's just what I do. I was like, I just want to go up to people, ask them if they like their hearing aids, and if they say no, I want to fix them.
I know a guy who does stuff like that can help you.
Really? Oh yeah. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I just think it'd be like fun to go fix people's hearing aids.
Just like walking down Main Street, you've got hearing aids. What's wrong with them?
80% of people wear the wrong prescription.
Yeah.
Because they are not programmed to the ear. They're only programmed to the hearing test, and it's wrong.
Maybe we do it.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you guys. If you've tuned in after so many months of me not doing this, I appreciate it. You could find us at obviously thepermanentmark.com. Actually, I think that website's down now because I think I let it go. You Find me on YouTube if that's where you're watching me. Great. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, the TikToks, all of the things. If you want production help, it's mx3productions.com or mx3 everywhere across all handles. I would love to help you do and achieve anything you want for your media production. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you later.